Alright, so welcome to the first episode of Warcraft Late Night, and a lot of you are probably asking who the fuck are these guys and why should we care, and that's a good question. Marty and I hosted a StarCraft 2 podcast in 2010-2011 called StarCraft Late Night. We wanted to take on like a Sports Center, PTI style sports coverage show, mix it with a late night talk show, and spit it out as two best friends talking about their favorite esport at the time. We've been best friends since 1997 and felt our chemistry, humor, and differing opinions could help us stand out in a time where most of the popular shows were hosted by the most famous or well-known pro players. The issue is that those shows had like an echo chamber effect. What I mean by that is that most of them were afraid to speak their real opinion on a matter due to sponsor obligations or not wanting to feel like a bad guy or be offensive, whatever. Luckily for us, one of the few who actually spoke their mind, Jeff and Control Robinson, rest in peace, he was a guest on our show, and besides his appearances on most shows, he would always say things that he meant. He wouldn't just go around in a circle and repeat what everybody else said just to look good, and shows like that got monotonous. So thank you again, Jeff. That was a blast. So we thought maybe we could change things up, be ourselves the entire time, and we were very, very inactive. We did, 33 episodes in a year and a half, Marty?
We did 32 episodes in a year and a half.
Oh, fuck.
And then we came back a year later and did the 33rd.
Oh, man. So, with Reforged coming back, we thought maybe we could do Warcraft late nights with a much more consistent schedule for both of us. We've both been keeping our eyes on the Warcraft 3 scene the past few years, playing but also watching. A big thanks to Neo and Remo from Back to Warcraft for their countless hours that they've put in, making it a lot easier to see pro games. They did such a service to this community, and I hope they get rewarded for it with, being able to follow their dream. But we're back at it again, trying it out, and hopefully you guys enjoy what we do. So any feedback or questions are welcomed. We would literally read every question that we got on the air the next episode, no matter how weird or personal it might have gotten. And we plan to do the same here. If you guys are going to take the time to email us, we're going to take the time to answer it. So the email is martyandborg@gmail.com in case you have something to say. And we normally would do the answering of questions at the end. Since we won't have any emails, we sort of made up our own questions to answer. So, before we get into the news, Marty, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think it just makes sense that we're doing this. I think even back when we were playing StarCraft and we were doing StarCraft late night, I think we still talked about Warcraft 3 a lot.
Most episodes.
Yeah, it was just like when we were playing StarCraft, because like back when Wings of Liberty came out, and you had people from Brood War and people from Warcraft 3, and like both of those communities came together for Wings of Liberty when it launched. And, we played Brood War back in the day, but Warcraft 3 was always our game. And even, after we stopped playing StarCraft, that 6 or 7 year gap in between when StarCraft ended and we kind of, really started getting back into Warcraft, we would still play it every now and then. It's always been a game that has been a part of us. So now that, things are happening with it again, I think it makes sense for us to do this and see where it goes. So
hell yeah, big things coming for Warcraft. I hope maybe they can fix the game, but that's for later on in the episode. The biggest thing happening is the ESL Pro Tour. Finally, big money for Warcraft. All the best players in the world have been basically about 40,000 to 50. Happy made 50 grand last year as the most successful player in the world. Just almost everything was from prize winnings. So this money is coming from Blizzard. This is like their official sanctioned tourney, similar to Valve's major system for Dota. There's going to be 4 challenger tournaments. One is this weekend in Anaheim. A little too short notice for us to make it.
Is it this coming weekend?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Neo and Remo fly out Thursday.
Okay, that's really exciting.
Yeah. So I'm very hyped to see all of that. So the way that ESL's running their Pro Tour is pretty good. They've got the 4 challenger tournaments that will be ran by DreamHack for all of them, the DreamHack organization. And there are going to be 8 invites for each challenger tournament, and then an open bracket and online qualifiers to fill out the rest of the like main stage bracket. So there will be a open tournament at all of these DreamHacks. You pay for a pass, and you can fight in the tournament and try to make your way onto the main stage and get prize money. And then with all of those challenger tournaments, there's a world championship at the end of the year. So if you win a challenger tournament, you get automatically into the world championship, and the rest of the 12 out of 16 players for the end of the year world championship go by like points. So if you get like 3rd place at all 4 challenger tournaments, you're easily going to get into the final tournament. The final tournament has a $100,000 prize pool, and the 4 challenger tournaments each have $25,000. So like nothing like this in America has ever happened for Warcraft 3. WCG was nothing as far as money was concerned. It's basically the scene has lived in China as far as money's concerned. That's where like Happy made all of his money last year. The last 2 years, really, he's been like one of the best players in the world. And then, what do you think about these invites? These are who were automatically invited. Hawk, I think, makes sense. Thorzane, Focus, Hitman, the U.S. player who was at WGL, Happy, Foggy, Lawliot, Moon. I believe that's all 8. Yeah.
Yeah. It's worth noting that Lin and all of the Chinese players are not eligible to attend this event because of the coronavirus outbreak in China.
Oh, shit.
So I wonder how many, like how, I mean, obviously it had an effect because like, I don't think you can have an event like this and not invite Lin or TH or Infi.
Oh, well, yeah.
So I would be interested to see, like, are they still doing 8 invites?
Yes.
For every event? Okay.
Each one, yeah.
So I would have to assume that like Hitman probably would have been taken off. Mm-hmm. Thorzane maybe.
Yeah, for TH
and Lin. Like 120 is another player who probably would have been invited.
Mm-hmm.
So I think given that situation, I think it makes sense. Especially since Hitman was just at the last WGL or the WGL before that. So
I think it was the most recent one, and he only took 1 map. It was off of 120 though, which is kind of crazy. I think the reason they're doing invites for all 4 is because if you win a challenger tournament, you don't have to qualify anymore for the world championship. So then they would invite someone else that hasn't qualified yet. But even still, they might still invite champions just to have, higher quality competition. So even if someone has won more than 1, it's still going to, go based off of the point totals at the end of the year. And then Flame, NT, or Entei, and then Neutron have all qualified. There's been 3 ESL Open Cups. Happy has won them all. And so I think that it's weird. I don't know exactly how those are working for getting you qualified, if it's points based on your placings cumulatively, but they've all qualified. So yes, this is going to be one of the biggest things we have as far as news goes. I hope there's more stuff like this, even if it's not in America. If it's going to be weekly cups and that's it, and like maybe a random event in China, that's going to get kind of hard to report on. Like the whole MLG system that they had, and ESL was like competing with them with SC2, it brought us a lot of even just foreigner news, let alone everything with GSL.
Yeah.
So if this is going to be like the GSL, I mean, it's not, but it's the biggest thing we've got.
I know what you mean. Well, I mean, I they haven't announced anything for it yet, but we still have a WGL that'll happen in like the summertime. Now I think it's I know they just had like the Lunar New Year, that just ended recently, but I just remember like at this point last year, I feel like they were already having qualifiers for WGL Summer for Gold League. So that's kind of concerning that there hasn't been anything about. And I wonder if that has anything to do with the outbreak situation that's happening in China right now. But that really is like the one big thing as far as like LAN events go. And then it'll be another WGL in the winter. And then I think WCG happens around then too. And then it'll be interesting to see if with Reforged out now, if anything happens at BlizzCon.
Well, some people think that the World Championship is going to be at BlizzCon. And some thought it was going to be the fourth Challenger tournament as well, because they didn't announce Melbourne, Australia in the initial launch. It was Anaheim, Reykjavik, Rotterdam, and then question mark. But it's going to be Melbourne, Australia now. So, yeah, the World Championship, BlizzCon is near the end of the year, so it's totally likely.
I think that makes sense.
It is their money. It is Blizzard's money.
Yeah. I know when StarCraft Remastered came out, I thought there would be like something for that at BlizzCon, and there hasn't been. I also know that, I don't know if you saw this, but StarCraft 2 is doing away with the WCS system that they've had for the past like 5 or 6 years, and it's going to be a part of this. So.
Oh yeah, I did see that in the initial. Like they have way more money set aside for StarCraft. For now, Warcraft could always take it over. Maybe.
I don't know about that, but.
Is your girl still playing?
Scarlet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It was funny. I just watched. I've really. Like my go-to thing, like when I eat now in front of my computer, is I've been watching like videos off the YouTube channel, the Score Esports Report, where they do like, and I just watched one last night on the series Bomber and Scarlet played against each other at some like Red Bull LAN like 7 years ago. But yeah, she's still active, I think.
Right on. I remember when you told us all you thought she was cute.
Dude,
people were giving you crap.
When she had her hair done, she looked really good. I'm just gonna say that.
All right.
But to go back to my point, what I was saying, I was watching Artosis's Pylon show, and they were talking about this, and talking about BlizzCon, and he basically said like, because the way WCS worked is it was very similar to this, where they'd have like events and then winners would get points and stuff, and then they'd qualify for the global championship for WCS, and those finals were held at BlizzCon. And it sounds like that's not happening anymore, but he said something along the lines of like StarCraft will still be at BlizzCon in some capacity. So that's what made me think that the World Championship would be one of these 4 events, and it wouldn't be at BlizzCon. But I understand what you're saying about the Melbourne, Australia announcement, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so we do have 5 big ones, so that's going to be nice. So, like, yeah, Anaheim's going to give us some stuff to talk about, but, I don't know, man. I really think that you should play in, one of the Rising Stars.
If it wasn't at, like, 11 o'clock...
So early.
as as hey man, as Moppy used to say, I'm a young professional now. Saturday is my day off, and I still consider myself to be a night owl. So Friday night, I come home from work, I take a nap, and then I stay up all night playing games.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I'm gonna wake up at 10:30 on a Saturday morning to get 2-0'd by some guy in a Rising Cup.
You think you're
Just
gonna
to
get
say
to where it becomes a round of 3? It's a best of 1 for till you're at the top 8 or top 16.
Okay. Thank you for further proving my point. I'm not gonna wake up at 10 o'clock on a Saturday so I can lose a 10-minute game, and then my whole day is fucked up from there.
Yeah.
Now, I have been considering. I don't know if you saw this, but are you on the Warcraft 3 gym
Discord?
Discord?
Yeah.
They're having like a newbie league.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about signing up for that. Now the only thing is that I don't know like what a newbie is considered. And I saw someone ask that, like what type of MMR is considered too high for this. And no one responded to that.
Okay.
But I was thinking about signing up for that. So, but I probably will never do a Rising Cup.
Yeah.
So.
I only had one chance because I work every Saturday, and I saw how early it was, and it was the day I was going to come to your apartment. So I was like, fuck that. I'm going to be up till 4. I was actually up till 6 at your house. So I'm glad that I didn't do it, because just like you said, I would have gotten fucking 1-0'd. One of the reasons I want to like do it is I want to get a revenge match against Insuperable, however you pronounce it.
I don't know if you were reading through. I forget where I wrote about this in our notes, but I've queued into him 3 times now.
Oh wow, on Reforged?
On Reforged,
yeah.
And every single time I left.
Wow, oh come on, you gotta see where you stand, man. I got a kill on his DK.
It was funny because this happened after you came over to my place, and because I remember we talked about that, like, oh yeah, I would just leave right away. No way I'd waste my time playing against him. And you said that, like, oh, you know what, you should do it if you ever do, just because so you could see where you're at.
Yeah.
And I thought about it for a second. I said, nope, I'm not gonna humiliate, because I've watched his stream before. I know, like, I could just like hear him in his French Canadian accent, like, this guy's a fucking noob, man. Like, no, I was not going to subject myself to that. Okay. I just figured I'd take the L.
Yeah.
Well, there are no L's to take.
That's true.
So, like,
yeah. No, because a lot of people, when he was his first appearance in Rising Star, not a lot of people knew him, and everyone was talking about how good his surrounds were, and he failed a surround on my hero, and then I surround killed his DK. And after that, he basically beat me with ghouls. So it doesn't fucking matter. I got lucky. Yeah. He sold his T. So I sound like I fucking did something good here, and I don't want to mislead anybody. He sold his TP to get an economic advantage, and then I surrounded him between trees and my huntresses. It wasn't like a full 4 hunt surround. It wasn't something skillful. Like, I got lucky. But, yes.
That's awesome.
He's still stopping.
You should have went to his stream and clipped it.
Oh, yeah. I'll never... I guess I'll just have to, pass the torch to you, and you can queue into him. And because I'm not at that MMR yet. I can't queue into guys like him. I'm a dumpster fire right now. But in the only other piece of news we have is that there is a website where you can look up your profiles. It's currently just for Europe server, so I haven't been able to test it, but it's called profile.w3booster.com. Someone's got to make profiles since Blizzard isn't going to do it. Well, sorry, it's not Blizzard anymore. It's Activision. I gotta keep reminding myself of this. This is not a Blizzard game, and I'll say that later, and probably multiple more times. But, yeah, if no one's gonna fucking make profiles over at Activision, someone else is already working on it. So hopefully that comes to NA. I haven't even seen what it looks like. I just saw the post about it, because it was just in development, so it might not even work yet. But we're getting there. We almost have Battle.net 1.0.
Profiles will come. They'll come.
Will they have losses? What do you think? They took losses out in SC2, you know, to make our feelings better.
So, yeah. But you know what? Yes, I think there will be losses because StarCraft Remastered has a win-loss ratio.
Okay. That's hopeful. God, I thought we were going to play that game a lot more than we did.
StarCraft Remastered?
Yeah. Maybe you kept playing, but I was like the first like 2-3 weeks, and then I just kind of forgot.
No, I agree. I thought I was really like when they announced it, I was really, really excited about it.
Yeah.
Because one of my biggest problems with Brood War was there's no matchmaking.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to make like a lobby, and like I just there are people who join the like noobs only lobbies and like
that are good.
That are good and just wreck people.
Yeah.
And so I like when it was announced that they were gonna have like, you know, all these quality of life features like matchmaking and stuff, I was really excited about it, and I bought it like the day it came out, and yeah, I played it for like a couple of weeks. My highlight from StarCraft Remastered,
oh god,
is I convinced Castles to buy it, and we were playing one night, and like every single game I beat him.
Oh, revenge.
Yes. And I was like, we must have played each other like 50 times in SC2, and I've probably taken like 4 maps off of him. So the fact that I was able to like win like 5 games in a row, but like as we were playing, you could tell he was like vastly improving each game. Like it was like where I'd stomp him, and then like he would fend off my initial push, and then like we had a close game, and I was like, all right, I gotta go to bed.
I gotta go to bed before I lose.
Exactly. So
or else you wouldn't be able to say this on the podcast that you're gonna do in 4 years.
Now going back to StarCraft Remastered and connecting this to Reforged, did you see the video that Tasteless did on Reforged?
Not yet.
So it's really short. It's only like 13 minutes, and it's not short, but like I thought he was able to like really like do a good job of like articulating his thoughts in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. As he's talking about a lot of the things that Reforged is missing, he has the StarCraft Remastered client open, and he's like showing them, like he's showing what the profiles look like in a StarCraft Remastered. He's showing what like the match history looks like in StarCraft Remastered. And I remember that when Remastered launched, it didn't have a lot of that stuff. Like it was also missing features. I remember like it was considered to be a bad launch, not as bad as Reforged has been, but like they fixed Remastered, and it seems for the most part that it's like functioning. I from my understanding, it still doesn't have 2v2 ranked, which is something that I guess was promised.
Ooh.
Like I don't play Remastered, so I don't want to say that it's great when it might not be. Mm-hmm. But my understanding is that they did add a lot of those features, and so I'm hopeful that Warcraft will have them. And yeah, I think it'll show losses.
I hope. So on to tournament coverage. Do you watch foreigner stuff in Warcraft that often? I know you weren't really a big fan in StarCraft days, but the Western stuff, do you watch very often?
I'll turn it on, like, and like you and I have had this conversation before. I just don't have the time like I had before to like when we were doing late night with SC2. Like, I would come home from class, and I would watch every single Code A match, and, like, every single Code S group, and I just don't have, like, I have too much stuff going on, and so, like, if it's on, like, if, like, one of the, like, websites I'll always check is Twitch, and, like, if I see Back to Warcraft is on and they're doing something, I'll have it on, or, like, if it's a weekend and I'm up really late and they're doing something, I'll turn it on, but, so that really doesn't answer your question, but...
You're not biased against it like you used to be. It's just you don't have the time.
Yeah, I'm not like some pretentious douche. I'm like, I will only watch GSL. Like, I will only watch Korean and Warcraft, or Korean and Chinese Warcraft.
Yeah.
And not. So yeah, but I'm open to it.
The big stuff, like when the most recent two WGLs happened, did you just like watch the like semifinals and grand finals, or were you able to like watch a lot of the group stage?
The one over the summer, I watched a lot of it because it was over the summer and I was off work.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that was, I want to say that the one that happened recently was during Thanksgiving break. So I watched some of that.
Okay.
But like I did watch like the finals and the semifinals. But like, am I gonna watch Hitman get 2-0'd? Like, am I interested in that? No, not really.
Just like how you're not interested in getting 2-0'd, so it makes sense. Well, as I update anyone who hasn't been up to date, I'll also update you. I have some interesting stats about Happy. So, this is the era of Happy, the undead Russian player. Not only have most of the tournaments that we've been given coverage of strictly Western players, but Happy has won almost every single one of them. There are even... Now, this is a weird way to say that he's won a tournament, but there have been two, maybe three, invite-only tournaments that he wasn't invited to just because they wanted them to be more competitive. So, in my eyes, Happy won that tournament too, because he's just too good to get invited.
So, this was something that I was going to bring up and wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Because I do think it's very interesting that you had... There was the Reforged launch thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was a 4-player event that he wasn't invited to. You have this, and I just opened it up.
They did the Valentine's Day one.
There was the Valentine's Day one, and then there's the Heroes Hearth Warcraft 3 Invitational that he was not invited to. And going through like the Instagram and Facebook comments on both of those, there are people, like all 3 events, people were talking about like, oh, thank you for not inviting Happy. And
poor guy.
I get it because like after like 5 or 6 of them, and I know he recently lost a Rising Cup, the Rising Star Cup, but like after he won like the first 5 or 6 in a row, it does kind of take away the interest of it. Like, who's just playing for second place at this point? So now, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it is, do you think that that's deliberate, that they're not inviting him to give other people a chance, or do you think it's there's not enough money and he's not interested in it and he'd rather focus on it? Because I remember...
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. He mentioned something about his stream makes him a certain amount, and if a tournament isn't worth it in his mind, he won't do it.
Yes. Because I remember, like, before he started going on this big upswing of, like, winning all these events and cups, he's always been, like, a really good player, but I don't know, I always kind of viewed him as, like, a dick. Because there was that whole thing with, like, I want to say it was WGL 2017, where, like, a bunch of people donated money to him so he could go to China to participate in it, and he just like backed out at the last minute and was like, nah, I'd rather stream. And like you said, he's mentioned before in interviews and stuff and on his stream that like streaming makes more sense to him from a financial standpoint than going to these events. Now I know, like, you know, like he streams like the cups that he participates in and stuff, so it's like he can still stream. So I just wonder if it's him not being interested in this, or if it's him not getting invited for the sake of giving a chance to other people. I think it's a really interesting thing.
And no one has like come out and said specifically like, well, we didn't invite Happy because we wanted X-Lord or Entei or some other really good undead European to play and have competitive games. Because Happy, if it's not... Well, Vortex was really good against him in the last cup, but as far as orcs go, Cash and Spiral seem to be the only Europeans, and then Kiwikaki took a game off of him, I believe. And then humans, it's basically Hawk and Thorzane that have been close. Night Elves, it's just Foggy, Neutron, and Sonic. And other undeads, he can't get touched by, pretty much. Oh wait, Vortex is an undead player who did good against him. Yeah, like he even like dominates 1-2-0 in Undead Mirror. He's just really fucking good. He has won 10 out of the 11 Rising Star Cups, only losing in the 10th one, which Blade won. 6 of his 10 cups for Rising Star, he didn't even drop a map. What else? The 3 ESL Open Cups, he's won all 3, and he's only lost 2 maps the entire time, both to Foggy in the first cup. So in the second and third cups, he didn't drop a map. And this tournament's actually pretty interesting to me. The GGG's Cup, it's all best of 1, and every map for each cup is every map for each cup is the same. So GGG's Cup 1 was, I think, Last Refuge or Concealed Hill, and the next one's going to be on Twisted Meadows. He's won both of those cups, and they were all best of 1s. That's like when you're supposed to... He's like cheese-proof. Like, that's like how you're supposed to knock a guy like Happy out is, because it's a best of 1, and you have the best chance of eliminating him. He hasn't lost a best of 5 in 3 years. It was on February 24th, 2017. That was the last time he lost a best of 5. Sorry, I should have said this earlier. To a European player. 3 years, he hasn't dropped a best of 5 to a European.
Yeah.
So how would you beat him? If you had the skill level of like a one of what is a top European that isn't Happy. So not you right here, because you would just leave because it's Happy.
So this isn't going to answer your question at all.
Oh, hey, you know what?
But
same thing as 10 years ago with the other podcast. And then it's going to roll into a story from 14 years ago, and people will laugh. Okay, go.
This is going to go into a story. So I don't know if you mentioned this, but the one Rising Star Cup he lost was the one that Blade won, the 10th one, and he lost to Cash. He got 2-0'd by Cash, who's our Orc player. The last WGL that he played against, or that he played in, or the most recent one, he lost in the finals to Lin.
Yeah.
And he won one game, I think. He got like 3-1 or something by Lin.
He got 3-1, yeah.
And I remember, if you go back and watch that, and you watch the game that he won, and like when the camera cuts to him, he has this look on his face like, wow, that was really hard. I don't know if I can do that 2 more times. Oh, like shit. he just looked like, and I'm not gonna speak on like the racial imbalances between Orc and Undead or anything like that. Like I can't talk about that. But he just at that moment, the way the game was, but that matchup, he just had this look on his face like, I can't do that 2 more times.
Okay.
To beat Lin.
Yeah.
Now Lin's probably like the best Orc player in the entire world, if not one of the best players in the entire world. But yeah, I would, to now answer your question of how I would beat him, if I don't know, I would cheese him.
Yeah.
And like, what cheese exactly? I don't know. I don't know. You have a good one written down, so why don't you share your thoughts on it?
I don't play human, but I was just thinking of each race, like what would seem the most viable, because Happy is so consistent. He does the same build every game, and he just out executes everybody. So what kind of timing, I was thinking, would take advantage of that when he's weak? Because the way he plays his Undead is like, he hits tier 2 and uses a bunch of lumber, because he goes Slaughterhouse, Lich, and Text to tier 3 all at the same moment. So he is then low on lumber. He doesn't have his orb yet. So I was thinking, if you did a tier 2 rifle tower push with like ivories, just to like reinforce your position, like up against the tree line, like you'll see, I think it's TH, or it's Infi that does that pretty frequently. He'll like place them down before he pushes, but not at like a tower rush near their base where it hits buildings, but it's just so that he can retreat back. If you did that with an Archmage and a Firelord, before the destroyers are out, so they can't use the dispel on your summons, I think that would be a really good way to either snipe Ziggurats, kill his lumber harvesting ghouls, get rid of his crypt, or if he just fights you right there, beat him in a fight. Also, I think it's called Soul Burn. If you were to creep your Fire Lord to level 2 before you pushed, that would also let the lava spawn split so that you have 2 of them. But Soul Burn, I believe, silences. I think it's only for 3 or 4 seconds, but if you can start focusing something down and then Soul Burn the DK before he throws a coil, he'll be silenced. There won't be destroyers out to dispel that, and you can get some kills, whether it's the Lich or Fiends or well, it can't coil statues, but I don't know. It seems cheesy. You would probably get your 2 attack upgrades and then long rifles as you're walking towards his base, grab the Fire Lord, and then just tower him with ivories. But I like, you're not gonna out execute him. You're not going to out micro him. He consistently is over 400 APM in Warcraft. That's something StarCraft 2 pros did pretty frequently in StarCraft, but you don't see those high of numbers in Warcraft 3. I don't see a good way to beat him.
There was a maybe you could remind me of what cup it was from, because I know we talked about it. There was, and I want to say he was playing against Hawk, and he it looked like he was gonna lose game 1. It was a BO3, I think it was, and I was against a human player. Maybe it wasn't Hawk, but he couldn't kill the Archmage or something with the Archmage.
Yeah,
the Archmage died or something.
That was Hawk, and I think it was Rising Star. I wish that I knew for sure which cup it was, but you're right. Hawk did everything right. He had level 3 Archmage while the DK was still level 1. He was in his base with water elementals killing ghouls.
That's right. The Archmage, when he pushed into Happy's base, the Archmage was full health, full mana. He already had a water elemental out. He had 2 levels on the DK. The DK didn't even have aura yet, and literally any other player, Hawk would have won there. And it was just really impressive watching Happy just will his way to fending that push off and doing just enough. And he was able to take a creep camp and get level 2, and I don't know, it was just really impressive the way he was able to handle that. Yeah. So even when you have him on the ropes and you're just trying to finish the game off and close it out, he couldn't do it.
Yeah. He did lose the Archmage there. I think it was the Nerubian or the Halls of the Dead finished, and was slowing it when he was trying to run it away. I don't know why he didn't TP. He must have gotten coiled or something, but I do remember watching that, and it was sad because someone had a far better early game than, I think he even creep jacked him, and there was an ensnared fiend that he killed or almost killed, and all the mana of the DK was used to keep that fiend alive. It just, everything went right and still went wrong. Poor guy.
It was. Oh wait, no, this isn't it. I can't remember. I'm trying to find the game so I could say it was in this cup so people could see what I'm talking about, but I can't figure it out. So whatever.
It's been, and it's even ironic, and I don't want to take credit for this phrase, but it was one of the Back to Warcraft guys, I can't recall whom, but they were saying that since they were meeting in the finals or semifinals so often in these cups, that Happy and Hawk have developed a rivalry, or maybe it was Foggy and Happy because they keep meeting in the finals too. But then they also said but it wouldn't really be considered a rivalry because they haven't beaten Happy in a series yet.
Yeah, I think that was on the town hall thing with Todd.
Okay.
So I remember that conversation. They were talking about how they keep meeting and bless Foggy's heart for keep trying, and he just can't figure it out.
Yeah, that archer build he was doing, getting the marksmanship and kind of just pushing in. I mean, he took him to a game 5 finally, and so that was really nice to see, and that's what I started to do sometimes against undead.
Oh my god, are you serious?
What?
Hello?
Yeah? What?
Sorry, I think my internet just like had a hiccup. Everything just stopped working. I was like, I thought we were past all of this.
Oh, here comes the fucking robot voice and everything.
No more robot voice, and then like, because I have like our stream open on my second monitor, and like it started spinning, and you stopped talking, and
oh man,
I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening right now. All right, sorry about that. Continue with whatever you were saying.
I was just talking about the Archer push that Foggy was doing. The most recent best of 5 that I saw, it was actually pretty similar to the build that you would do when I was trying to play undead. He would just get to marksmanship and kind of just like push in.
That's where he got it from, by the way.
Yeah, he got it from you because you didn't leave in the game that you played against Foggy.
It wasn't Foggy, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, against Happy. Yeah. So yeah, that there's just been so much Western stuff, and almost every single tournament Happy is invited to or joins, he wins. In Korea, there's a King of the Hill going on. They're doing a pro and amateur version. It's called the Battle Royale, and there's only been one series still. I thought it was going to be a daily thing, but it's not. So the player pool is just all the best Koreans: Sok, Chimiko, Focus, Soin, Lin, Lucifer, who goes by Michael now, La Liot, Check, Remind, and Moon. Those last 4 are like my 4 favorite players. But La Liot has not been performing. Check, he's over the hill. Remind has been promising. And then Moon, I just don't see him play ever anymore. Yeah. Ever since he won this WGL, or no, Lin was the one who won. Ever since the most recent WGL, I think I saw Moon. Yeah, Moon played in the Chinese New Year Cup, and I think he made it to the semifinals. Maybe he won. Oh wow, I wish I had a link for that. I forgot how far he went, but I don't see a lot of Moon games anymore.
Yeah. For
the King of the Hill, it's $85 for winning a series. They're best of 7s, and La Liot 4-0'd Soin, and he plays Lucifer next, I believe. If you win 5 series in a row, you get a $254 bonus, so that's nice. I just wish the games were available. A lot of the games that are in NetEase, you can't even open the replay files in Warcraft. You need NetEase to watch the replays, so I was thinking about just installing NetEase just for the replays, because I want to see these guys play, and if they can't get a cast for Back to Warcraft or someone else to do, there's no way for me to watch it because I don't have NetEase.
We could cast it.
That's true. We could cast it. We should set up NetEase in the...
Yeah, right. 2 things.
Yeah.
Did you know that Romantic changed his ID to Fortitude?
Yes. I don't know why.
I forget what I was watching, and like Fortitude was playing. I was like, who the fuck is Fortitude?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's Romantic.
I think it was when he joined his new team that he wanted to change his name. So he's like, I think it's Lucky Future. He's like LF Fortitude now, and I don't know why he wouldn't want to be LF Romantic, but that's just how it is.
Yeah. I just saw that recently, and you were just talking about Chinese players, so I just wanted to throw that in there because, you know. Second thing that I wanted to talk about was with NetEase, of like setting all that up. Do you remember when we set up, I set us up with
Korean
Taiwanese,
StarCraft? Oh yeah, Taiwanese ones, yeah.
It was because the Taiwanese client played on the Korean server.
Yeah. That
was pretty sweet.
That was so many of the names were the like capital I lowercase L.
The barcodes, yeah.
There were so many people with barcode accounts.
And it was awesome, like opening the ladder and like working your way to the Grandmaster tab, and like recognize like, oh my god, this is actually like Squirtle's profile.
Yep.
So I think I'm like, not that I was any good to be playing on the Korean server back in StarCraft, but I think maybe I had more confidence in myself then, but like now, there's no way I would even think about
Yeah, right.
installing NetEase to play Warcraft
Right?
on it.
After
Like,
trying
it's just,
W3 Arena and like getting absolutely dumpstered, I don't find any reason to play on NetEase other than to watch replays.
yeah.
Everyone
But
on
it just
W3 Arena was so good.
Not everyone.
Well, yeah, because we were there.
I won my very first game I played on W3 Arena.
It had active matchmaking.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I won. And then I, like, got absolutely destroyed, like, my next 4 games. And I was like, okay, back to BattleNet.
Yeah, it's a real... BattleNet can be a total shit show because it has, like, the levels. Well, it did, when it was a Blizzard game. And W3 Arena, there are still levels to your account, but yeah, like, the matchmaking was, like, when you win, they're like, oh, you must be much better than we thought you were, so
yeah,
here's a semi-pro European. Enjoy the ping.
and like in any game with a competitive ladder and like an MMR system, it's gonna take a few games. It's gonna take more than 4 or 5 games to figure out where you truly belong. But like, I don't know. I guess just like with StarCraft, in StarCraft 2, when you would lose a game, and like it would just be like a build order loss or just playing against someone like way better than you, you would just get like completely crushed. It'd push you and you'd get crushed.
Yeah.
But I think just because Warcraft 3 battles take longer, because like the units have more hit points and the units do less, you know what I'm talking about? Like battles just last longer, like just by the nature of the game. It just feels like a lot more like soul crushing of a process. Like
you're right.
So I don't know. I think that maybe has something to do with it. But I just was like, after a couple games, I was like, okay, back to BattleNet.
Because you're a newbie, right?
Maybe. No. Like,
we'll see. We'll see what the cutoff for the newbie league is.
I want to play in the newbie league.
Just tank your MMR, bro. Your losses don't matter. Right? Happy will be in there on some Smurf account. He'll still win that league too. Speaking of newbies, though, we were thinking about adding a newbie segment to each episode where we talk about different mechanics of the game that everyone might not know. We didn't know this about the experience bonus. I probably learned about it, 3-4 years ago, if that. You didn't know about the tier 2 and tier 3 experience bonus for a while, right?
Okay. I
knew it, but yes. I didn't know it. Are you gonna have a Martyism right now?
No. Okay. Yes. In the past 3 or 4 years, I learned that you got bonus experience for each tier, and then if you trained a new hero, then that bonus went away. What I just recently learned in the past 2 or 3 months is that bonus goes away from the moment you start training a hero at the altar. Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say.
Okay. I thought you were going to say, I knew it, but I didn't know it, because I thought I noticed more experience for creeps when I was in tier 3 or something like that. But yeah, so the things we were going to cover were upkeep and the experience bonus. So with upkeep, 10 gold is what your harvester takes out, no matter what. When it shows 7 or 4 due to the upkeep tax, you're still taking 10 out of your mine. So a lot of times when people get an expansion and immediately break upkeep, they think that it's worth it because they're still getting 14 gold, 7 from each of their harvesters. But you're actually taking 20, 10 out of each mine. So if the game goes long enough, because you broke upkeep so early, you might have less gold at the end of the game, because every time you've taken gold out, some has gone to the upkeep tax. So that's why you'll see a lot of players, if you're watching pro games, they'll be at 50 out of 50, and they could be getting all of their upgrades, their items, teching to tier 3, making an expansion, basically spending as much money as they can before they break upkeep. And that's what that term means, is like banking and then breaking upkeep. And then, yes, what Marty was talking about, if you are at Tier 2, so Stronghold, Keep, Tree of Ages, or Halls of the Dead, and you only have one hero, you get 15% more experience from creeps and from killing enemy units. And if you're at Tier 3, and you only have one hero, you get 30%. But just like he said, that bonus goes away, whether it's a tavern hero instantly, or you start training in the altar, it goes away. And it does not come back when they die. That is a misconception some people have, is that now that you're getting solo experience, you get the bonus back, but you do not. Even if it's dead. Gonzo. Alright. Do you want to do good cop, bad cop about the launch, Marty? You go good cop, and then I go bad cop?
Yes.
Alright. So we're going to talk about the Reforged launch. It's been, beaten to death, whether you're looking at Metacritic or listening to other Warcraft podcasts or even tuning into people's streams and asking their thoughts. But as people that have played this game for the last 18 years, we're passionate about it, and we've got things that we want to say. Go ahead, Marty. Let them have it.
So, yeah, it was a disaster. It was probably the worst launch I've ever, and BorG and I have been playing Blizzard games since Diablo 2 launched. I remember not being able to log in with server authentication problems, and BorG and I went to the midnight release for Diablo 3 and we couldn't play for half the time, and I've witnessed some bad launches in my day, but this has been by far the worst launch ever. And I think the really shitty part of it is knowing all the problems that happened in the beta, and how you hear Grubby and all the Back to Warcraft guys and Todd talking about all this feedback that they gave to Blizzard and how they didn't do anything with it. And so the signs for a bad launch were definitely there. And there was all the talk of people asking for refunds before the game even came out, and my thought on it was always, I'm gonna buy this game regardless. It was there was nothing that was gonna happen that was gonna sway me from that, just because it's been such an important game, an important part of my life. So something I was gonna play and buy regardless. So I tried to be hopeful and excited for it. My launch day experience, I played the campaign the entire time, and that worked fine. But you'd see people talking in chat that there were issues with the campaign. They turn it on, or they try playing a mission and they immediately were sent to the defeat screen, and people had trouble matchmaking, and all the issues that happened with the classic client and how that got deleted. It's getting better, and it's been 3 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
We have race-specific MMR. We have a way that we can check our MMR now. Blizzard just released a patch last week that fixed a lot of the issues that people were having playing on classic graphics. So I think I don't know what the timetable is for it. Will it be by summertime? Will it be by the end of summer? Will it be by the 1 year mark for it? I don't know, but at some point it'll be a really good game, and it will have all the features that it should have had at launch. Now, my concerns, the things that I feel bad for, there are three groups of people I feel really bad for. I feel really bad for the people who had no interest in Reforged and just wanted to play the classic client.
Yes.
We were told that when Reforged was first announced, that people who had classic and bought Reforged would still be able to play together. You didn't have to buy Reforged to play the game. And one of the things I was really interested to see on launch day was logging into the classic client and seeing what all of that looked like. But if you tried logging into the classic client on launch day, you had to download a 30 gig patch, and the classic client ceased to exist.
It's dead.
So now, and it's not just the client. everyone's accounts are gone. The icons are gone.
Battle.net 1.0 is zero.
All the old chat rooms, the clans. Like I play against people who like you check their profile.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had profiles on Battle.net 1.0, and it would like say what clan they were in, and like, oh, they've been like a shaman in this clan since like August of 2015. That shit is all gone.
Yep.
Like it just doesn't exist anymore. So I feel really bad for those people. The other people I feel really bad for are people who are like financially invested in this game, and we're hoping for this to be like a really big moment in the game's history and like for it to grow because of it.
Yeah.
Like, and then that leads me to the third group of people that I feel bad for are like new players who were excited about it, people who played WoW or people who played StarCraft and wanted to check it out, and it just turned into this disaster. So I do feel like a lot of the criticism is warranted, but at the same time, it was a game I was gonna buy and play regardless. Yeah. Like, and I know it'll get to a point where it's better. It just sucks that everything happens when you already have like a lot of like pro players and people involved in the community who said from the beginning that like needs to be fixed. You guys need to do something about this. The two things that I want the most right now are profiles and ladder that shows your stats, both wins and losses. The chat rooms, there was an interesting discussion on Reddit and the WC3 Reddit a couple days ago on how like people keep complaining about the chat rooms, but the chat rooms are actually like really active now. And like no one was talking in the like chat rooms in Classic, so they are more active, but the like UI of it is really shitty.
Yeah.
So I would like to see the UI fixed, but right now the two things I want the most are profiles and a ladder.
Yeah.
And I hope, like, it'll be interesting to see how they do the ladder, if they'll do like leagues and divisions like they did with SC2, or it'll be like how Dota 2 was before they introduced all the heralds and guardians and that shit, where it's just like an MMR and there was like a leaderboard. But because the ladder that they had in WC3 with in Classic with the levels wasn't an effective ladder. Mm-hmm. I mean, at the time when a game came out in 2002, it was probably a cool ladder and was better than like what they had better than what they had for in Brood War and Warcraft 2 Battle.net. But I don't know.
Yeah, I also would add a fourth group. I almost called it MLG Anaheim. The DreamHack Anaheim people, like, they don't have this game ready. Yeah. And there's supposed to be this like big tournament that the organizers are probably like I've already heard Neo and Remo from Back to Warcraft talk about. Because I don't really get to watch the streams. It's all on the weekend, and I work. So I watch VODs, which I'm lucky for, because they'll, like, start a VOD and talk about how, like, they couldn't start their game for, like, 45 minutes because the game was bugging out, because Reforged is a bit of a disaster at the moment. So to try to organize this whole offline event where we don't even know if the LAN is working, it could really set things up for some failures, and I hope that doesn't happen. I want it to succeed. That's the overarching message. Like, I want this to be good, but they really fucked it up.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you noticed now? Okay, so I didn't watch any of the Rising Star Cup this past weekend. What graphics was it casted in? Classic or Reforged?
Everything.
Or did you not see?
Everything they've done has been Reforged, except I think it was like one Chinese replay that they did in Classic.
I just feel like I was watching something. I like the last couple of things I've watched. It was all in Classic graphics.
Oh, really? Maybe I didn't notice. Like, that's the hard part. Is I'm so used to them.
This past week. So my question is, what graphics do you think they'll do for Anaheim?
Reforged.
Will it be Reforged because it's brand new, or will it be because, like, again, looking at like Facebook and Instagram comments, you have everyone in YouTube comments, everyone is complaining about everyone is complaining about Reforged graphics.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just be interested to see if they do classic graphics to keep all the old people happy, or if they'll do Reforged graphics because it's the new thing and like this the game that they're trying to market.
No one knows for sure, but there's been speculation in the chat or like YouTube comments that is like they have to broadcast in Reforged graphics because of like something Blizzard contract, because a lot of the VODs recently were all in Reforged ones. And it even was to the point that when they did do the classic graphics thing that I saw, it was even in parentheses in the YouTube video. It just said, like, someone versus someone classic graphics. I'm pretty sure it was some Chinese players, and I don't know if it was a replay or an actual cast, but almost everything has been in the new graphics as far as I remember. But okay. I'm also so used to the old ones that I might not have noticed and switch back.
You're right. I'm sorry. And that had to have been what I was looking at, because I just looked at the VOD from the ESL Open Cup that was this morning, and it's being done in the Reforged graphics.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, almost everything.
Okay. It was probably that thing that I was looking at. I just feel like the last couple things that like I've opened up was classic graphics, and I was like, oh wow, but that makes sense then. So my bad. Sorry, forget all of that. Edit it out.
Nah. I do have a notepad in case I need to edit something, like some fucking Michael Strahan shit.
What was it? 23 flavors of color.
So, yeah. In my many breaks from playing WoW or SE2 or Dota, which are like the 3 games I grinded the most the past decade, I would always come back to Warcraft 3. There was a lot of hackers, there weren't a lot of people that played, but I still liked watching replays, I still liked watching back to Warcraft, and once Reforged was announced, I was super hyped. I know Marty was too. I didn't really want the game to change. Like, I wasn't concerned with that. Yeah, I just saw what you did. Your camera is kind of out of focus. I don't know.
So it's okay. It's not just me.
No, it is out of focus. I don't know if it's like because you're leaning forward or what, but it definitely went out of focus, and I don't know how to fix it from here.
Oh my god, I don't know how to fix it either.
Maybe move it a little and.
All right, yeah, just talk
on your face, but I was really hyped when Reforged was announced. I didn't want the game to change. I knew it would mean more eyes on the game, more sponsor money for tournaments, new players that could, really get into the game too. There was nothing wrong with the game. It didn't need to be changed. I thought it would be cool to have Warcraft 3 with better looking graphics, higher resolution textures, but the chat channels, it looks like it's fixed.
Yeah, it is.
Chat channels, tournaments, profiles, the fucking Battle.net website that had really in-depth stats about your hero choices, your map win rates with different races, your matchup win rates, all of that shit. Game time win rates. That, like, we had that 18 years ago. I would love to have it now.
It is really crazy, and like I'm sure we had this conversation 10 years ago on SC2 Late Night.
Yeah.
About like how is it that Warcraft 3 had all this stuff in 2002 and we don't have it now in 2010 for Wings of Liberty?
Mm-hmm.
How is it that now in 2020 we are having the exact? It's literally worse.
Yeah, it's an Activision game, bro.
You would think it just. And, like, I know I'm supposed to be the good cop, but...
No, there is no good copping.
To wrap my mind around the outrage, the fucking outrage that there was about the state of... Like, when Wings of Liberty launched, there were no chat rooms at all.
Yeah.
So, like, at least we have chat rooms, but just the outrage about all of, like, the social features. There were no clans, no automated tournaments. Well, that's another thing. We're not going to have automated tournaments because no one plays in them. Well, the reason why no one plays in them is because, like, for the past 4 years, they've been buggy. And, like, I remember Do you remember that one night I finally got past the preliminaries and
Yeah.
at 1v1?
No one showed up for your match.
And I was so excited to finally okay, what is it like? I've never gotten this far. What is it like? And like it didn't work. I fucking was like in queue for literally an hour.
Oh
and the fucking
yeah.
thing didn't work.
It wasn't because it would time them out. It wasn't that no one showed up. You tried to go to your match, and it wouldn't take you there.
The website for the tournaments had like it just. The reason why no one played in the automated tournaments is because they were buggy and they stopped working.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first day that they had automated tournaments in Frozen Throne. It was a 2v2 and me and Adi played in it. And it was like one of the coolest things. And I'm sure this is like rose tinted glasses and nostalgia and like just romanticizing the past and everything. But like it was such a cool feature. And like the tournament icons that they had, like the Burning Legion icons, all of that was fucking awesome. And so like going back to what I was saying, they experienced all this outrage in 2010 when Wings of Liberty came out, that there were no clans, no chat rooms, no tournaments, and like somehow they managed to fuck it up even worse. At least in Wings of Liberty we had a match history, we had a ladder, and there were like profiles, and
they ended up adding the map thing and the matchup thing too. But that was either Heart or the patch before Heart.
But like for no one that's ever gone on to the Battle.net website and looked at, like, you could look at your win percentage for like game length and your lifetime amount of gold and lumber you've harvested, your win rate with heroes versus specific heroes, like almost any statistic you could think of, it had.
Yeah, even matchup specific per map. So like
it wasn't in the client. You had to go onto the website, but they still had the way to like aggregate data and put it together.
Exactly.
How did they not? I don't get it.
The only good cop left is Bobby Kotick, so you don't need to worry about being a fucking good cop.
Do you remember on StarCraft Late Night when I was talking about my forum post I wrote where I said like Bobby Kotick could suck my balls or something like that?
Yeah. Fucking quote it.
Well, that was the same. It was like the same thing where I was complaining about how like, cause like, you can't make multiple accounts now.
Yep.
So like you're stuck to your Battle.net account. Even for people who didn't buy Reforged, you're stuck to your one account. And I remember I wanted to change my name from whatever it was to the ID I use now. Mm-hmm. And like there was no way to do it. And so there was like this big thread on the Battle.net forums in like 2011 about it. I just remember posting like, Bobby Kotick, you can suck my balls if you're reading this. And like we're back to the same point.
Yeah.
You can't change your name. I just don't understand. Like,
we went from being able to know how my Night Elf versus Orc is on Turtle Rock to not even knowing how many wins or losses I have. The only way I can see my Night Elf wins is to go to my icon and collections, but I still don't know what my win rate is, let alone a map win rate, let alone a matchup win rate. I would have to track all that shit in a spreadsheet or a notepad myself.
And to talk about the icons and portraits, that was like when they came out with that in Reign of Chaos, I thought the fucking coolest thing ever.
Oh yeah, it created goals to achieve and everything.
Because like Reign of Chaos came out, we were 14, like we were awful at the game, and like, but it was still nice having like something to play towards. Like BorG said, it was having like goals. It was things to, and like, and then Frozen Throne came out. Well, like with Reign of Chaos, it was like 25 wins, and then it was 250, 750, 1500.
Big gaps.
So it was like really big gaps. Like I never got a 250 icon in Reign of Chaos. Like I never got like an Abomination or a Druid of the Claw or anything like that, which were like the 250 icons for Undead and Night Elf. But then Frozen Throne came out, and like they kind of, it wasn't as spread out. It was 25 wins and 150 wins and then 350 wins and then 500 or 750 or whatever. And like it was like the coolest part of the game for like a teenager in high school that like wasn't good at the game. Like it gave us a reason to play. And like I remember the night I got my Banshee icon, and the night you got your Druid of the Talon icon, and Lenny got his Shaman icon. Like it was, and like they were so cool. And like you'd sit in chat channels like Clan ZA, Clan GGL, and all those like top level
Mm-hmm.
channels on US East, and like, oh my god, this guy has a Dryad icon. Like the game's only been out for a month. Let's look at his profile.
Yeah.
And like, not only now are the icons worse, like there are more of them, and they're more reasonably spaced out.
Mm-hmm.
But like, they're uglier. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but like the rifleman icon now compared to how it was in classic is worse. Some of them do look really cool. I really like
The
how the
Banshee
Wind
looks
Rider
awesome.
looks for orc. That was the once I got the Banshee icon in beta, that was like the only one I used. The Banshee looks really cool, but then like I got the Drew to the Claw icon, the 75 Night
Fuck
Elf,
that.
and like it looks ugly as hell.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe when I got it, part of me was like, I associate this icon with BorG now. So like, I was like, I'm just gonna keep my Banshee.
Yeah.
But, like, and then if you look at like the really high ones, like the Keeper of the Grove, the 500 Night Elf one, no way, that looks like shit. The female Demon Hunter, and I have no problem with the female Demon Hunter or the female Death Knight. I actually like them. Like I think it's different, it's cool, but the icons, the portraits for them look like shit.
Yeah.
And then
It's just concept art.
In Warcraft 3 and in Reign of Chaos and Frozen Throne, they were animated. They moved. They don't move now. Or maybe once we have profiles, because they moved in the profiles.
Yeah, not in the channels, but still, it goes without saying, like, one, you can fucking cheat your way through the campaign and get portraits anyways. And having campaign portraits, I think, is a nice addition. But they're super buggy still. You go through the, like, even if you go through, like, what does it even do? Like, having a high win race icon in SE2, like when I got my Infestor or my Ultralisk, like, that was cool. I liked having that. There could always be that intimidation factor when you're, loading into the game and you see that someone has, like, a really crazy icon.
Did you ever get the Kerrigan icon?
I think so. Yeah, I did.
One of the problems, one of the things that really pissed me off with Heart of the Swarm, because that was basically when we both stopped playing StarCraft, was Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah.
One of the things that really pissed me off with it was we both had, or at least I know I did. I don't know when you got your Banshee or your Kerrigan. It kind of looks like a Banshee. But, like, I got the Tassadar icon in Wings of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And then Heart of the Swarm came out, and there were no new icons.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the level icons, but, like, what was the max level in Heart of the Swarm? Like, level 30? And, like, you got that after playing for, like, a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was really easy.
There were no new icons to grind in Heart of the Swarm, other than the level icons, which you got right away.
Yeah.
But like when after Reign of Chaos switched to Frozen Throne, there's a whole new set of icons. There's a whole new, like, I just don't understand how they like had these systems that worked in 15, 17 years ago or whatever it's been, and like now modern day Blizzard, and like I know you said, I know it has a lot to do with Activision and everything, but like I don't know. I don't know.
It's okay. I get to why I think it's that way. Continuing on with my list, like what just happened. All of this stuff worked fine, and I didn't want it changed. It was perfect the way that it was. Not only were a lot of these things changed, they just were removed, and we don't know how much of it is coming back. We already know they said tourneys aren't coming back, and we might be able to convince them otherwise. As far as profiles go, it's a thing they're supposed to add, but are they going to add in-depth profiles like we had before? And then
probably not.
The beta didn't have any matchmaking or ladder, and so part of why I was excited for Reforged was more people were going to be playing. It would be nice to not run into in Super Bowl 3 times or like fucking Kodo's Forsaken guy all the time on the ladder and just get towered. Like having a bigger player pool would be nice, and having the beta where a lot of people that got BlizzCon virtual tickets got keys that don't play the game, that could just know the franchise from WoW, they come in and it could be their first game ever, and they're gonna fucking play someone who is experienced at the game, and it's not gonna be fun. There was no ladder either in the beta. The SC2 beta had both matchmaking and ladders in it. So same thing. This conversation repeats itself. They keep on removing features. So with the beta, I stopped playing. I started playing Classic again during the beta.
Yeah. I think it's also another reason why it's such a critical issue of like, I just like it doesn't matter how good the game gets. Like I truly believe that at some point in time in the next year, it'll be a really, really good fucking game with all of these things that we're talking about. I truly believe that. Yeah. But I think that it's already failed. Like I think that it's missed an opportunity that'll never get again.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about like first impressions lasting, like there are people who, like I remember on the night the game came out, the launch night, a couple of weeks ago, like literally everyone, all the big Twitch streamers were playing it. Artosis was playing it. Like all these people were checking the game out. And when you have all the issues that this game had at launch, those are people that'll never come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll play through the campaign and that'll be it.
Exactly. And then all of their viewers are potential customers. Like this was a huge, as much as people want, especially, I mean, I'm a big proponent of this, like as much as people want to shit on Activision for making this such a corporate thing and penny pinching and just making the game cheap because they want to be profitable, they had a huge opportunity to make sales by having a successful launch so that people that were on the fence about buying it would see the streams and be like, oh wow, that looks awesome, I want to play that. They could have gotten a lot more customers, but instead they got a lot more refunds. I had people in the beta that I could beat with one hero because they were so new, and I'm not even good. And then I end up having them typing, like, I would apologize to them on Activision's behalf because there was no matchmaking. And some of them would even say...
kind of patronizing. Well, like, I'm sorry for beating you.
Well, yeah, because I would say, like, because I didn't want people to get discouraged. And I'm like, I'm sorry, there's no matchmaking, so new players are getting put up against, experienced players. And some of them would talk about how they were thinking about refunding the game because it wasn't fun. And it wasn't fun for me to play against people that are brand new. That's why almost every online game has some form of matchmaking, because you want to play people close to your skill level. And so I would try to convince them not to refund the game because I want people to enjoy this. And Marty already touched on this, but like going through the high-level channels, seeing someone with like a really good icon and checking out their win percentages. There was this guy, ZA Fate, a million years ago. He was a Night Elf player who had, it was like 97.8% win rate, right?
He was the very first person to get the Archimond icon. And like I remember there was like a feature of him on like the Battle.net website, and yeah, like BorG said, he had like some crazy mid 90% win rate, and it was just like, wow, like, it was just really cool to see. And you could, like, not that like I did, but like back in the day, you could go on Battle.net website, look up his profile, and like you could, figure out how he plays through like what heroes he used and stuff. Like it was just, all of this stuff was available, and I don't know. It's just, it's not. Oh, I'm sorry. I remember the point that I was gonna make.
Okay.
Or like what I was talking about a missed opportunity. I think the other reason why that like the failed launch is a really bad thing was because RTS games aren't as popular as they were back in the day. Now with like Dota and League of Legends and CSGO and Overwatch and like team-based games, like Warcraft is a really, really hard game.
Yeah.
And like people don't have, I just don't think that like your average gamer or player has like the patience to play something like this now. And there's no, I mean, like, yeah, the campaign kind of touches on like what a ziggurat does and like how upkeep works and stuff like that, but like there's just, it's just a really horrible like new player experience, and then like when you try playing a game for the like you beat the campaign and like, oh, I really want to like, oh, I got really good at like building riflemen and casters in the campaign, like I want to try doing that on the ladder, and then you queue against like one of us, or like we're talking about like in Super Bowl, or like one of these really good players, like that person's not going to come back and play again. Like, oh, you know, I just had to play another 20 games and then the game will figure out what my skill level is. Like, it's just, it's a horrible new player experience, on top of the fact that like it's just not a popular genre of games to begin with. And like I wasn't expecting like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people to suddenly start playing Warcraft 3, but yeah, I was expecting there to be like new blood, and I'm sure there are some people who like picked up the game and are still kind of playing with it, but I don't expect them to last long.
Yeah, it's
so I'm sorry. The second part of my thought came back, and I wanted to.
It's all bad cop against Bobby Kotick, and then they changed this. So in Warcraft 3, let's say you lost to someone really good, you could / profile them in the chat room and look at what, you know, their win percentages are, and like, oh, that makes sense, they dumpstered me. And you could also go to see someone's profile in StarCraft 2. You could even message people in StarCraft 2, or in Warcraft 3 you could see what their clan was. You could whisper people after games. You can't whisper people after games in this game unless they have turned it on in their BattleNet security settings, because, you know, we got to protect their feelings. I love when someone fails a tower rush against me and I can shit talk them.
Oh, BorG. That's such a BorG thing. So that leads me into one of the reasons. So the game is global now. There's no gateways or realms like there was in Frozen Throne. Like there's no US East in Europe, in Asia with Azeroth, Lordaeron, Kalimdor, or in Northrend or whatever it was. It's all global. So you can play against players on the European server, or like European players or Asian players. And somehow, I don't know how it works, but like somehow they figure what server you match up on. Like it's determined somehow. So like you can play against an Asian player that's in Korea on either our server here in Chicago or whatever the server is in Asia. And like if you play on the Asian server, you get 300 ping. And then if you play like on the European server that's like in Denmark or the Netherlands or something, it's like 150 ping. And then like I said, the US server is here in Chicago. So we got a question, and the guy says, do you guys know anything about Blizzard's plan about using random servers? So if I get matched on an Asian server with 300 plus ping, would it affect my MMR or rank? I would think it would.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's going to, like, and it's so dumb because they let us choose our region in the Battle.net client. I choose Americas. I should only be queued against people on the Americas like server list, but that is not what's happening. We keep getting people that are getting 300 ping games complaining about it on Reddit, and I totally understand what they're talking about, because if the only thing that is showing, like, it'd be different if like they turned off MMR changes when you queued into that kind of a server, but as far as I know, any 300 ping game that I've played, I check my MMR each game to see if it like goes up at a consistent rate, like how Dota was like plus 25 basically every time, and it's different numbers based on how high or low the MMR is compared to yours. But anytime I've lost to someone when I had 300 ping that was on the Asian server, I still lost MMR.
I don't even play those games. I just leave. Like, it's not even worth it to me. Like, it is so noticeable. Oh, even like 150 ping when you're playing against a European player.
Yeah.
But to go back to the point you were making about not being able to talk to people after the game, what is the point of trying to like globalize the community and like and bring everyone together if you can't message players after the game or add them to your friends list, and all you can do is report them.
Yeah, part of me thinks it's just because they're being cheap. Like, okay, so let's say they built a server. If it's going to be global and then it's going to switch us to a server after the game is queued, why not put one in Hawaii? Build a server in Hawaii. At least that will get us halfway or close to halfway between... It's not halfway, but it would be better than putting a Korean on the American server that's in Chicago or an American on the Beijing server. Like, it's ridiculous.
Is that where the Asian server is Beijing?
I don't know 100%. I just said a city name.
I know I would have to like trying to look at it rationally. I would assume part of the reason is like they're worried about queue times and like, you know, dividing the player base up. But we've already seen with 17 years of Classic that there are enough players for just American players or North American and South American players to play against each other and European players to play against each other. Like, because like now you don't have to worry about dividing the North American and South American servers to East and West. You can just have the American servers. And like I play at weird times. Like I'd play like in late into the morning, and like I've never ever had a problem finding a game. Like I could queue. This is in Classic before Reforged. Yes. I could queue like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would find a game within a minute.
Yeah, on US East.
That's a really on US East.
Yeah,
that's a really reasonable wait time.
Yeah.
And like that was like the lower end of the servers. Like everyone plays on Europe. Although I guess I would have to assume that like most of the Kalimdor players, the Asian server, they were playing on NetEase.
Yeah, and a lot of good players are still would have been on W3 Arena. But you're absolutely right.
The point is that like why can't we select what server we play for? Like Dota does that.
Yeah.
Dota you can play globally. It's not like League of Legends where like you just sign into the American gateway and you can only talk to American players. Like Dota, you like the client is everyone. You can queue for the European servers. You can queue for the Chinese servers. You can queue for the American servers. And like it'll show you what your ping is on each server. Like I just
no, it really seems like something cheap because they announced it during beta, and the way I remember it being phrased was the beta matchmaking or the beta versus mode was going to be global just to get the most games played. So what it was going to do was find your 2 locations and try to find a server that was in between you. And I'm guessing that that's still how it's working, but it's working terribly. They should find a much better way to have us play against Asian players. Or, like you said, select America.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to play against Asian players simply for the fact that if I play on their server, it's 300 ping, and if they play on my server, it's 300 ping. Yeah. So, like, either way, it's not going to be a fair matchup. Like, because, like, every now and then you'll queue into a player who has like Korean text in their name or Chinese text in their name. And like at first I'd be like 300 ping. And I'm like, oh, God damn it. Fuck this. And I'd leave the game. But then like you queue into a player with a Korean name and then all of a sudden it's 75 ping. And I was like, well, does that mean they're like here? And then it occurred to me that no, they're queuing. The game is being hosted on the American server. So they're the one with 300 ping.
So I'm going to stay in this game.
Exactly. So like that's not. I mean, exactly. Yeah. Like I would say an easy W, but there are no W's, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, man.
It's just like because they're like because I think the W3 Arena server was on Europe, right?
Yes, it was.
And like a lot of the really good North American players in Classic would play on the European server. I think it was Northrend. Just because, like, that's where, like, the better players are. So, like, if people want to make that choice, let them.
Yes.
But, like, me...
Forcing you to do it is stupid.
I'm USC's trash, man.
Yeah, me too.
I want to play against USC's players. I don't want to be playing against players from other regions simply for the fact that it's not fair that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think it's stupid.
Did you end up watching the BlizzCon panel when they were being interviewed by like Grubby when he was like hosting it? Different developers.
That was
and
like
stuff?
that was when it first got announced, right? 2018.
No, the most recent BlizzCon.
I did not watch the most recent one. No.
So like 2018, Neo and Remo were there. They played a bit of a demo, and then Activision forgot they were making this game. And then the next BlizzCon came, and they were like, "Oh my god, we need content for BlizzCon." So at that panel, one of the developers or game directors, somebody said that like this is your game, like towards the crowd, like towards the players, and that they didn't want to make any drastic changes to it. And like, honestly, which is it? I don't care that they didn't add the stuff they wanted to add. The new UI, the extra campaign missions to make it more cohesive into the WoW storyline. None of that. I didn't care about any of that. I was really under the impression that they were just going to make Warcraft 3 look nicer, and they fucking gutted this game. So is it our game? Because it doesn't feel that way. All the hardcore Warcraft 3 players that have been playing since this game was deemed, quote, dead a long time ago, they stopped patching it for balance. They stopped letting us do tournaments that were, like, you know, working. All those people, they don't want this new BattleNet. They want tournaments and profiles and the old chat channels. And a lot of them didn't even buy Warcraft 3 Reforged, which you were talking about earlier. That group of people that you feel bad for, their Frozen Throne experience is dead. That game has actually been killed by its creator.
It's really sad to think that, like,
it's gone.
Man, it's gone. And you know what? It's funny because I felt that way when they killed Reign of Chaos. Like, I haven't played Reign of Chaos since the Throne came out. I did play, like, I did go through the campaign again, like 6 or 7 years ago. But like, I remember when they merged it all onto the Frozen Throne client, I was like, wow, I'm never gonna be able to like open it up and like see that black background with the Infernals falling again. Like, it's gone, and now the same thing can be said for Frozen Throne. Like, you'll never log into the game and see Icecrown Citadel in the background again, and like the snow in the back of the BattleNet UI. Like, it's literally gone. And the night before Reforged launched, I logged on to Classic and I played a couple games. And now looking back, I'm really, really glad that I did that, because I really didn't think that would happen. And I just remember thinking, like, one of the things I was going to do that day was log on to the Classic client just to see what it was like. And little did I know that it wouldn't exist anymore.
Yeah, you could have been the last person online forever. You might have been the last person to play. Yep. So it doesn't even matter if you love BattleNet 1.0 and you chose to keep... And it's weird, because I saw like lots of posts of like 2 more days till Frozen Throne is dead, or F in the chat for, you know, Frozen Throne.
Oh, I thought people were completely overreacting.
Yeah, the concept didn't really like register for me that if you love BattleNet 1.0 and you were only going to play Frozen Throne, I never thought Blizzard would have done this. When they said that the old game was going to be compatible with the new game, I thought that's what they actually meant. But what they really meant was, if you play the old game, you don't have to buy the new game, but we're forcing you to play the classic version of the new game. And that's what they did. You cannot play Frozen Throne. You have to play Warcraft 3 Reforged, just with the classic settings.
Do you still play with the classic graphics?
No, I turned the new ones on when I was playing the campaign, and I haven't switched back, which is weird because it felt so nice when I did the first time, but I haven't had any issues with the new ones.
So have you seen what they did to if you have the classic graphics enabled?
No.
if you turn the classic graphics on, the whole menu is like gray. It looks like it's like in sepia.
You're in demo mode right now. Please purchase the game.
That's exactly what it
to get colors and shadows, please pay $40.
Because, like, I forget whose stream I was watching. I think it was in Super Bowls. And, like, I was like, wait, why is everything gray? And then, like, I remember reading something. It was the patch that they released a couple weeks ago. And they mentioned something about, like, it being gray. Like, to distinguish between Classic and Reforged, like, we'll now where it's gray. And then I was like, oh, does that mean that he, like, how does that work? But no, it's, like, for people who have Reforged and turn the classic graphics on. So if you open up the game right now and turn the classic graphics on, the whole fucking thing would be gray.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I will check that out tonight because I plan on playing after the show, but... my goodness, it just sounds like there's this subtle nudge of just like, you don't want to pay the money, we're gonna make this experience even worse for you, so that you buy the $40 game, just to turn on classic graphics properly. And so like, all the review bombing, the refunds, I don't really agree with that. I think that it might not lead to a fix. Like, if anything, it's going to reduce the budget and like slow down future patches. If they're losing money basically on this game, like, why are they going to continue it? Why are they going to have their team is already so small, but like, why keep that many people if everyone's refunding the game? It seems like there's a really good chance that the Activision people involved, like the higher ups, they just don't care. They don't care about Warcraft 3. If they did, like, really, they wouldn't have released it in its current state. Or they would have delayed it longer to get it right.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is do you think that, like... Because it was told that the game would release by the end of 2019.
But they forgot they were making it, so that was impossible.
So do you think that putting it off for a month, like, what does that do? Like, I don't
the campaign, and that's it.
I don't know anything at all about developing a game, so I can't speak to like what can be done in a month. But is a month really enough time for anything to happen?
But you saw the state of the beta when they announced it. You were playing the game. They added a few patches that optimized the different like laggy things, like the really slow menu. Yeah, they were fixing it with patches. But from January 1st until the launch, hardly anything changed. They added the campaign. Oh, great. They added icons. It just didn't feel like they added a month of work to it.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't know what it's like to develop a game either, and I'm certain that they are very understaffed and overworked, and that is a fifth group of people that I would feel bad for on as far as Marty and BorG are concerned, is the people that are being forced to work super hard to try to put out a product that is getting such negative feedback. Like,
I do think, because it's not like, I don't blame the developers. Like, I don't blame the classic team at Blizzard. I'm sure it has a lot to do with, like you said, the upper level management Activision people that are like, that come up with these deadlines and shit like that. What I think is, I don't know if funny is the right word, but like the whole point of the game was reforged, right? Redoing the graphics and everything. And like, I understand why the like competitive people are going to stick with the classic graphics. But I think it's really funny that the majority of the people are sticking with the classic graphics because the new Reforged graphics are so bad. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say bad. It's just compared to how it was before, they don't look right.
Yeah, ghouls and skeletons are still really hard to tell apart.
Same with Footmen and Militia.
Yeah.
And like, if you like looking at how the art was done in Heroes of the Storm, it's kind of like seeing what could have been. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they committed themselves to staying on the Warcraft 3 engine. Again,
Yeah.
not understanding how any of this works from a technical standpoint. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about, but I would just have to assume that part of the reason why the graphics are the way they are when they've shown how they could be in Heroes of the Storm is because they're sticking with the engine that the game has been on for 17 years now. There's also a thing. I feel like I saw this on Reddit somewhere where like they opened up the Warcraft 3 sprites into StarCraft 2. So it was like the exactly how they were in Warcraft 3, but open in the StarCraft 2 engine, and like those looked really good. It was basically doing like what happened with StarCraft Remastered, where they just kind of like took what already existed and just made it look better instead of trying to like reimagining the entire thing.
Yeah. Are you able to hear my cat meowing and clawing at the door?
No.
Okay, good. And she can wait. I just didn't want because if she's like running around the room, I don't want that in the show. But if she's making a lot of noise now, I was gonna let her in so that she makes less noise. Yeah, I get that a lot of people that refunded are also doing it because like they might be, you know, short on money and nothing new was added to the game. Like the UI they showed, the campaign they showed. So a lot of people might have just been like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to play Frozen Throne. Joke's on them, I guess, because Activision really fucked them. And, like, there's too much that is just missing, and I agree with you. I believe somewhere, it's like when the Grinch's heart grows like 3 sizes bigger. Like, I feel like someone at Blizzard Activision is going to realize part of the reason why there's so many bad reviews and refunds is that a lot of people care about this and they want it to be good, and that this company that has been a part of our whole fucking lives let us down.
What did you think about their statement of, we're sorry you didn't have the experience you were hoping for?
They shouldn't have released that. It just added fuel to the fire. It just made it worse.
Yeah, that was not a good way of going about doing it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was bad. So the last thing I'll say in this good cop, bad cop against Bobby Kotick is that Blizzard's motto for a very long time, and it wasn't like a mission statement for their business, but it was something that a lot of the developers said in interviews, was that they were just a group of gamers that were making games that they wanted to play. Most of the people from that team, most of the people from the golden era of Blizzard, they're gone. They've moved on to different things. And really, to me, Blizzard Entertainment is dead. This is not a Blizzard product. It's not up to the Blizzard standard. This is absolutely Activision trying to remake Warcraft 3. It's like if you're trying to resurrect something with, you know, like those paddles, but instead you have 2 fucking D batteries that you put on someone's nipples and you're like, come back to life. That's what Activision did to Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
That's the effort they put through. But hey, they added a snoring sound to Sleeping Creeps, though, so who needs a working ladder, profiles, clans,
Did they really
tournaments,
do
or
that?
chat rooms? You haven't heard that? Do you not play with sound?
I do play with sound, but
If you go by, like, let's say you're going by, like, the knolls on Twisted Meadows, and you see the Z's above their heads, you can, if your sound is high enough, you can hear, there's a snoring sound of them sleeping. So that's in the game.
Yeah.
They added that in Reforged, but they took everything everyone loved about the game out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, on to the questions. Unless there was anything else you had to say, maybe a final statement for Bobby Kotick to, you know, suck your nuts or something.
Yes, Bobby Kotick can suck my balls. And what a piece of shit.
For real.
And it's Activision is such a scummy company. Like, I don't know if Activision has ever released a game that I've liked. Like, I've always hated Call of Duty, and I guess I always associate Call of Duty with them. But I guess like going back to bringing this full circle from like where we started an hour ago, I do think the game will get better.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna end up being a great fucking game, and I'm excited for it. But it definitely was a missed opportunity, and um, you can't blame the people who bought the game when it came out and it ended up being a bag of shit. Like, oh, I'll wait a year until this game. And that's just there's a whole nother tangent we can go off on about pre-orders and early releases and betas.
That's a whole nother fucking thing.
Yeah, but to wrap it all up, I think it'll get better. Yeah. I think we'll end up with a great game, and I'll probably spend another 17 years of my life playing with it, just like I spent the last 17 years of my life playing it. So I'm excited for it, but it is really shitty what's happened.
Mm-hmm. So this would be the section where we would do user-submitted questions from emails and whatnot, as far as the way StarCraft Late Night was ran. We had pretty good engagement in the past with fans and hope to have it here. So, since this is the first episode, there are not going to be any emails, so we wrote up some of our own baseline questions, just sort of for people to get to know us. And they don't need to be Warcraft 3 strictly Warcraft 3 questions. People used to ask us about sports and girls and food and other games we were playing, movies, all that shit. We are pretty open books, so we used to answer everything people would send us.
Our old episodes were like 3 hours long, and I would say like a good half of that was like about nothing related to StarCraft.
Yeah.
Like
Brett Favre.
Like we told some fucking funny stories, and like there really wasn't anything that was off topic. So, off limit. Sorry, not off topic.
A lot of things were off topic. Nothing was off limits. We answered a lot of personal questions on the show. It was good. It was funny because our first episode, we weren't sure we were going to be able to talk long enough, and I actually thought that about this one when I was making the show notes until I got to my rant about the launch. I was like, oh shit, are we gonna even be able to fill an hour? And now we're almost to 2, so it's just how it goes with us sometimes.
We could BorG mentioned this at the very beginning. BorG and I have been best friends since grade school, and I feel like we could talk about literally anything. And like even our
30-hour drives to the TI for Dota, even if some of it was us singing along to music, it's still like there's no pauses of what do we talk about now? It just something always comes up, or we see something, and it's nice. It's a good chemistry that we have. So ask us anything next time for the next episode. It's Marty and BorG at gmail.com, but we do have our own questions set up. So, Marty, what's your favorite matchup to play and why?
My favorite matchup to play would be Night Elf versus Orc. I really like Druids of the Talon. And I feel like that's the matchup where they get used the most and they're the most viable. And it's just different from Ancient of Lores that you'd play in the other 3 matchups. Mm-hmm. So I always really enjoyed playing Night Elf versus Orc. Which is funny because I feel like Night Elf versus Orc always has this moment where the first 10 minutes of it, 8 to 10 minutes of it is very stressful and frustrating if the player's really good with his Blade Master. Yeah. But then it turns into a point where once you get Cyclone and enough Druids of the Talon, it becomes a really fun matchup to play. So my favorite matchup to play would be Elf versus Orc.
Right on. How is it versus Farseer when they go Farseer first? I haven't been playing Talons lately.
If they go Farseer first, I do not end up going Druids of the Talon.
Oh, okay.
I'll play Ancient of Lore.
Okay. Right on. My favorite matchup is Elf versus Human. I have been enjoying the Warden so much lately. It's not the only matchup she's viable in, but it's the most optimal matchup for her, and there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with the Warden. And I just have been struggling against Orc and Undead lately, and That also makes it default Night Elf versus Human because I struggle with the other two at the moment. What about to watch?
To watch, I think just Night Elf in general.
Okay.
I guess I don't think we've really talked about this about like what races we
Oh
play.
yeah, we didn't.
But I'm going through like a racial identity crisis right now where I don't know
That's
what
so
race
2020
I
of
play.
you. What do you identify as, Marty?
Do you so like growing up I liked undead. They were always my favorite race. And then like 4 years ago when I started playing again and started really getting into playing solo, I started playing Night Elf. And that was like they're the race I'm like the best at and probably have the most experience with playing solo. Because back then I would only play like a ranged team and random team. And so then but then I was like conflicted of like, well, I really like playing Night Elf because I'm good with them, but Undead was like the race I played when I was younger. And now like I've started playing Human and I really like playing Human because it just their play style fits more with like how I played StarCraft and everything. So I'm going through a racial identity crisis. I don't know what race I identify with. So like my favorite matchup to watch would be like I wrote down Night Elf in general just because I like watching what other elf players are doing because I feel like with Night Elf there are a lot more strategies are viable at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to see like what other like I remember going through this phase where I was playing Druids of the Talon and Night Elf Mirror because I saw like Foggy do it and it was really cool like how he would like Cyclone Bears and just I was like, oh, that's something really cool I'd like to try. So like but now that like I've been kind of playing Undead and like even I've been like messing around with Human, like I want to watch just Undead games and Human games in general just to see what those players do. So that doesn't answer your question, but
It's all right. I went over how I'm used to that. I do like that strat. So you get the fairy fires, and if they don't turn off autocast for their dryads, it wastes all the dryad mana getting the fairy fires off, so that they cannot dispel the cyclone. So yeah, that is a fun strat. Night Elf versus Undead is my favorite to watch, especially because it's been my hardest matchup. Not this past year, but like the previous 9. I could never beat Undead, so watching Night Elves do it was always really, really good, just like Marty said, to learn from.
yeah.
And I would highly recommend anyone that likes that matchup, if you haven't seen it yet, watch Moon versus Happy from WGL. Those grand finals were incredible. What about... So I guess, since you play all the races, this question is fucking useless, but favorite matchup to watch that isn't your main race?
So I wrote down Undead in general just because they're like my second race. So that kind of just I already talked about that, so I'm not going to talk anymore.
Okay.
So go.
I really like watching Orc versus Undead. It's just really, really refined when you watch people like Lin or 120 play against each other. There's not a lot of surprises, and that might turn some people away from the matchup, that it's almost always Fiend statues, destroyers with the DK Lich and usually a Dark Ranger to silence the TC, against Blade Master with the Shadow Hunter in the TC, and then Walkers, Grunts, Kodos, and Raiders. And Headhunters now. People are playing with a lot of Headhunters to kill Destroyers. It's just so... It's like a really interesting dance to see who makes the first mistake. And it kind of reminds me of some StarCraft games. Like watching really high-level StarCraft players where it's a matter of like who makes the first big mistake, and then they end up losing the game because they're so equally matched. Watching Orc versus Undead is like that a lot to me, because like you mentioned with Night Elf that there's a lot of different strats that they can play, and same with hero choices. a lot of different heroes are viable first or second with Night Elf. You could start with Keeper DH in almost Keeper or DH in almost any matchup. Some matchups you can go Warden first. Some matchups you can go Tavern Hero first. For your second hero, a Potom can be helpful with Aura, depending on what you're going, or almost every Tavern Hero is a viable Night Elf second hero. With Orc vs. Undead, it's pretty much so set in stone that it's just, I don't know, I don't play either race particularly well. I don't learn from watching it so much as I just enjoy the mastery of it when it's really good players. What about maps? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think thinking back to SC2, my favorite matchup to watch was Terran versus Zerg, just because, like, as a Protoss player, it was just so, like, I just agree with everything you're saying about it. It was just a really entertaining matchup. Yeah,
it's nice to see from, like, the other side. Like, yes, I love watching Night Elves play, and I love watching them play matchups that are hard and seeing how they overcome them. But strictly as a spectator, if I had to pick any matchup that didn't include Elf, it's absolutely Orc Undead. Alright, so favorite map to play?
My two favorite maps to play are Twisted Meadows. I really like Twisted Meadows because it's a big map with lots of bases, and I just feel like, I don't know, my play style, I just like mining a lot of gold and building a lot of shit.
Yeah, I could see you as a human with, like, 4 bases and an island.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like I was talking about this before, but just like playing human and like figuring out like fast expand builds and just having like all this gold to play with and not worrying about upkeep, like I really liked that. So that's why I always liked Twisted Meadows. I felt like there's just like a lot of room to AOW creep on it, and it was easy to take a base and easy to defend the base, and it just led into like really long games, and this was the kind of games I enjoyed playing. The other map that I really like, I couldn't pick between the two, but the other one is Tyrannus Stand, and I don't know, it's just another map that like I like it when I queue into it, and it has a base that's easy to take. The third base is a little harder just because of like how they're positioned in the corner. So like really either player can go for either corner base. But I really enjoy those two maps. So
yeah, Amazonia is my favorite. It's just like, how do I word this? So I do have a bad habit of one basing a little too much, but when you do expand in that's the biggest gold mine out of any of the maps. The natural or the only expansion in Amazonia, it has the most gold out of any mine. So what I've found is it always leads to like long, like crazy games. Because sure, they could expand before you, but their base, runs out, your base runs out, but then you have more gold in that gold mine than they do. So if you can outlast them, there reaches a point where they no longer are mining. And I've had some like really fucked up like tank human games versus me with a bunch of bears and like 12 Ancients of War just scattered across my base. And a lot of that stuff happens on Amazonia, and the creep patterns are really, really good. There's a lot. The Ancient of War creep with the lightning shield is perfectly easy to execute, even if you're not good at doing them. The natural is easy to take. I don't know. I love that map. It's so fun to play. I'm always so happy when I queue into it. I like all of the maps that are used in competitive play, not all of the ladder maps, but the only one I have turned off is Echo Isles, and that's just because it's so predictable. If you don't Ancient of War creep the Merc camp, then you have to settle for a green camp. So it's just, I've had so many footmen or ghouls come and fuck up my Merc camp creep that I have an additional veto, so I just used it for that. I don't hate the map, it's just, of all the ones used in competitive tournaments, that's my least favorite one to play on.
I always liked, because like I would always AOW creep the Merc camp.
Yeah.
But then if you get 2 green camps, you get level 2. So you get level 2 out to 2 green camps. And so then what I started doing, but I do agree with you that it's like, I don't know. I guess the reason why I started doing that was because I felt like it was easier to harass AOW creeping the Merc camp. Like, it was just like a Blade Master came or a DK or something, and it was just like really greedy. So you can get level 2 off to 2 green camps, and then you can come back to the Merc camp after like you do either the natural or the Murlocs.
Oh, okay.
When you have like more archers. I don't know, but like I get it. My vetoes are Dalaran.
Yeah.
That fucking swamp map.
Everything that's not in tournaments.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Although I do have the winter map turned off.
Northern Isles?
Northern Isles.
Okay, so that's what you have off. I have Echo Isles turned off.
Okay.
Okay. What about to watch pro players play on?
I guess I don't know if this still applies, but I always really liked the W3 arena maps before they were in the map pool.
Mm-hmm.
So like Amazonia, Secret Valley, I think Concealed Hill. I think Secret Hill was, or not Secret Hill. Concealed Hill was one of those maps. It was just like cool to see new maps being played, because like a map like Twisted Meadows, that map has been like in the game since like 2004, and it's a great map. I hope it never leaves the map pool. But it was just cool to see something different.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't think Secret Valley still in the competitive pool.
I haven't seen it played in a very long time
because it's not in the map pool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just the W3 arena maps, the competitive maps before they were in the map pool on Battle.net.
Gotcha. Mine's Twisted. Even after what you just said, like watching, especially Moon play on that.
Oh yeah, it's
map.
A great map. Like I said, even though it's been in the map pool since 2004, I hope it stays there forever.
Yeah, the amount of bases that are on there, and you've got the islands. And it's always innovating. Like I've seen a lot of really interesting creeping paths. Ancient of War creeping is so weird because you never know what the creep distance is, but you can Ancient of War creep your natural if you want. You can Ancient of War creep those gnolls for a relatively safe one, and you can Ancient of War creep the Merc camp as well, which is tough. It needs 2 wisps, but you can Ancient of War creep there too. You've got I love watching the long games with, like, let's say Moon, and he's dropping like 3 expos at the same time because he knows at least one's going to get scouted by Happy's skeletons. Most likely 2 of them are, but at least one of those bases will come up. And once again, it sounds like I'm talking about StarCraft, where there's so many bases and stuff, but then you've got the 4 islands, and it's just a masterpiece. Love watching shit. I love watching games on that. What's your favorite main race hero?
Demon Hunter. I think.
What's your favorite main race hero for all 3 of your races?
It would probably be the normal. Like, I like Demon Hunter, Death Knight, Archmage, but in terms of like I really, really like the Dreadlord for Undead.
Oh, fuck
like
yeah.
It's a really. Like, I mean, that one night you were over, we were playing all those 2 games with Carrion Swarm, and like, I really like.
It doesn't need to be who you play the most; it's just who is your favorite.
Yeah, so it would still be Demon Hunter, for Night Elf, and then Dreadlord for Undead, and then I don't know. All the human heroes are boring.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Well, Blood Mage is cool, but he's just.
Yeah,
it's too hard for me to play. I'm not ashamed to admit it. To play him well, I'm not good enough. Warden's my favorite. I've gotten pretty decent with her. It's fun. I hardly ever use Tome of Retraining I hardly have ever used it the past like 17 years, but this past year I was seeing more and more. You would always see Fan of Knives blink for the human matchup, and just the emphasis on priests. And then the restoration scroll if they are able to push you away or you need to go get more mana, and the AoE damage is sort of, if not fully healed up. So a lot of people are now going Shadow Strike first with the until you're level 4, you get the second blink, and then you retrain and get Fan of Knives. So that way, for the early game, you're able to either pick off the Archmage or Footman, or go into the base and Shadow Strike and right-click down Peasants, whatever it is. And it's better to go Shadow Strike first because you get more experience, because you get more kills, and then you switch over to Fan of Knives and you can just fucking decimate bases. She's just so fun. She's so fun to watch. She's so fun to play. Do you play her often at all or ever? Because I highly recommend it. It's so fun.
No, I forget what patch it was, and I just remember like when Keeper Alchemist became a thing, I was like really excited that like, oh, I can try something different than the Demon Hunter, and I didn't care for that much. Mm-hmm. I understand why it's really strong, but it just feels, I just really like playing the Demon Hunter.
Keeper is so fragile.
Yeah, exactly. That was, and I felt like he kind of falls off.
Yeah.
Late game.
Oh, he absolutely does. Tranquility's great, but there's so many ways to stop it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Warden's not for everybody. Do you at least like watching like when Lawlight used to? I can't say Lawlight used to be good, but like when Lawlight was like he kind of like dethroned Moon for a little bit. It felt like God, he was so good with that hero.
Yeah. No, I can just picture in my head like a couple crazy Lawlight games where he had like a solo Warden that got to like level 8. Like I remember there was like a Moo Cup or something he played in like a year or two ago, and he had it was like against an undead player, and he had like a level 9 Warden, and it was just like, so yeah, they are like really exciting to watch.
I'll send you the VOD, but it was either Neutron, Sonic, or Foggy. I saw them get a level 10 Warden on Echo Isles. Yeah,
Sonic is another player that I like associate the Warden with.
Yeah, he is very aggressive. He's a very aggressive player. Almost overextends and loses sometimes. But I also saw a level 8 Warden lose yesterday, I think it was. People have been getting Tinker second with their Wardens once she's 5 or 6 and going cluster rockets.
Okay, that makes sense.
They stack the AoE and it stuns so that if you blink and are about to fan, you can cluster them together with the rockets. And a lot of humans switch out of Water Elemental to Blizzard your bears.
The Blizzard, yeah.
And that stuns and ends the Blizzard. The cluster rockets.
Okay.
It's a lot of damage. Like level 3 Tinker with a level 5 Warden. It was like basically one-shotting the Priest and Sorceress line. She would blink fan, and then he would cluster rocket it, and they would almost all die. All right. What about Tavern Hero?
Tinker.
How often do you play Tinker?
I really only... With Undead, I never get Tinker, and then with Elf, I would only get Tinker as a third hero against Orc. I just remember like it was one of the heroes. I think it was Tinker and Fire Lord. Was Alchemist in the game when it first came out, or was that a hero that was added later as well?
I think all of them got added in Frozen Throne, didn't they? Or do you mean they got patched in after Frozen Throne release?
They got patched in afterwards, yeah.
I would think it was Alchemist, Fire Lord that were patched in after, or Alchemist, Tinker.
So I just know for sure that Tinker was the first hero that was patched in.
Okay.
I'm like 90% sure Tinker was the first one.
Okay.
And I know Fire Lord. I'm 100% sure Fire Lord was patched in. I just think Alchemist was patched in as well. Anyways, my point is that I just remember like when Tinker was patched in back in the day, and like that was really cool, and like everyone like that weekend or whatever, everyone
like
was playing
fucking
Tinker.
playing Dota after a hero's released.
Yeah, except like everyone could do it, and like I just like, and I remember we played a game with Lenny, and Lenny got a really high level Tinker. And its name was Mecha God.
Yeah.
and his voice lines are funny, and I don't know, it's just I really like Pocket Factory. The cluster rockets is fun, and then his ultimate is like
God.
just really like I think I've probably gotten to Tinker Ultimate like once or twice, and it's like a really fun ultimate to get.
Did you know it doesn't have a duration?
Yeah, it just switches between the two.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
The two modes.
He's so fast too. When you get boots on him and you've got the passive, it's like the fastest hero in the game.
Yeah. Like Naga's cool, but she's kind of boring. Same with Panda. I guess Panda's a little cooler, but
yeah, they're very often used.
Yeah, so Tinker would be my favorite tavern hero.
Fucking Pit Lord, man. Pit Lord is the best hero in the game, man.
Back to your roots.
Big Daddy Pit. I definitely love the Panda, though. I get Panda second in almost every matchup. It's just so good. Especially against human, because I like to be able to Breath of Fire, like the farms that are stacked in front of a tower, or if they go tanks or mass gyros, the Panda affects mechanical units, so that's nice. But Pit Lord, fucking all day, is my favorite. I don't use it that often. I use it in 2s a lot because Cleave is so good. Cleave ignores armor. For those of you that don't know, it fucking ignores armor. So if you're hitting, and it's smart, if you're hitting a grunt, let's say, that's standing next to a TC, you want to be targeting the grunt because you're going to do a ton of damage to the TC because the hero armor that it has, fucking gone.
You know what I just realized? That hero reeks of heavy metal.
Just like Nakes. It is such a BorG hero, the fucking Pit Lord.
It really is. Like, that is like the quintessential BorG hero in Warcraft 3. I'm really surprised you didn't start playing Pit Lord earlier.
Yeah, I was never shown the way, you know. I ended up seeing, I think it was Infi, he got 5 orbs of fire because the damage stacks, and he got 5 orbs of fire and a gloves of haste, or maybe it was an invuln pot, so plus 50 damage, and he was running around with a Pit Lord with all those orbs just slicing through armies because it does so much damage. Oh, he's so fun. Yeah, R2 strat's pretty good. Pit Lord carry.
Yeah.
What about your favorite item?
Orb of Venom, easily. It was just it's always a good feeling getting into tier 3 and taking my Demon Hunter's happy ass over to the shop and getting that Orb of Venom.
Hell yeah.
To find, it's probably Circlet or Claws for the same reason.
Circlet feels really nice on every hero. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, the orb is nice, man. It's 88 damage. Just you right click something, and if you change your target, 88 poison damage happens to that thing.
That's crazy.
It's so good. Mine is the Mana Stone. I just think it's like the best item in the game. The Greater Mana Potion is great, but this has regen on it. It doesn't give you as much mana, but I think it's 200.
Yeah.
But it gives you regen the entire time. So I don't know, man. Anytime, especially if I'm playing Warden and I get a Mana Stone, I feel like Happy probably does when he gets a Greater Mana Potion. I start thinking, I'm going to win this game. Doesn't always happen, but I just feel so much stronger when I have that item.
It does feel good to find a Sobi mask for the regen. So, like, no, yeah, I agree with you with Mana Stone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the most OP hero? Not to whine about balance, which, you know, we don't want to do, but
so I'm gonna go with my second choice first.
Okay.
Which is Demon Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Playing against the Demon Hunter, mana burn is the most infuriating thing in the world. Like, so like when I play Undead, I've really been doing like the happy DK harass, like where you get like a rod and then you just like go over there and like try coiling creeps and like harassing them. And like if they have a Demon Hunter, they just mana burn you, and like you're shut down, and like it doesn't cost them anything because you don't need mana on your Demon Hunter, and there's no I hate it so much. And then I always remind myself that like I played Night Elf too, and I've benefited from that. So Demon Hunter up there strictly for mana burn, and then the Blade Master.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like no hero in the game can dictate a game the way the Blade Master does. Like, he completely changes everything. Yeah. If they go Blade Master, you have to change the way you creep. You have to change the way you like SimCity your buildings. You have to change the way like you approach battles and like things you have to look out for. And
you have to buy
I'm not gonna say
dust
it's OP. Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, like the fucking Cyclone and Fairy Fire and all that stuff for the Blade Master. Like it just changes everything. Yeah. I'm not gonna say it's like OP because like, but it's just those are the two most infuriating things to play against.
They are like the best heroes in the game. So instead of saying OP, we can say the best. Like they're so good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I also have the Blade Master on my list. They can win games single-handedly. Like I've had it happen to me where they turtle their base and they only have a Blade Master, and they just creep.
Bane? Bane?
Bane, are you there?
And do you think there's a chance Bane will come across us and listen to it? Because if you are, you can suck my balls too, Bane.
We use too many high-syllable words for Bane. He wouldn't understand what we're saying.
There's this guy on US East, or he was. This is like
US East is dead, Marty.
2017. That's right. US East is no longer there. But back in the day, 2 or 3 years ago, there was this player on US East whose name was Bane, and it was like all in capital letters, and he'd have a hyphen in between, like the B, the A, the N, and the E. And he would just build a ton of towers and just harass you with the Blade Master all game. I don't think I ever lost to him, but every game would take 90 minutes, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating at all. And it was just all Blade Master stuff. Mm-hmm. And like he would just like come out of nowhere. And he'd like fucking blade storm like your expo down, and then he'd kill all the wisps. And then by the time you finally got there, he'd wind walk and run away. Mm-hmm. So I totally agree with the thought that blades can win games single handedly because they can. Yeah. It's happened.
Because he'll like power creep it because you can't get experience from creeps past level 5. But then at that point, he just starts picking things off. He'll be waiting for your rallies. You have like a Dryad that's coming to your army.
Yep.
And then he's got an Orb of Lightning. He purges it with it. He kills it. Experience. He just keeps going, picking off workers, picking off buildings. And then he ends up with Blade Storm. And it was just absolutely infuriating. He wasn't even like a good player, but I also didn't want to give him a W, so I would sit in this fucking 90-minute game like Marty's talking about and have to just whittle him down. It was aggravating. Another one of the best heroes in my eyes is Alchemist. It's a hero that I actually don't use very often, even though it's part of like the Night Elf meta. I just don't like Keeper Hunts Elk. I just don't like the build. It's not fun. I never know should I expand or tech, and I end up just fucking losing. And the Keeper's just super fragile to me. But Alchemist, every spell that they have is awesome. He has really good right-click damage. It's a strength hero, so it's slow attack. But with Frenzy, or Chemical Rage rather, he attacks crazy fast, and his DPS goes through the roof. So, like, if you can Entangling Root something and then Chemical Rage right-click it down, it's great. Armor is super important in this game. Acid Bomb gets rid of that. Healing Spray, now that it doesn't heal opponent's units, is one of the best heals in the entire game. And so like that hero's toolkit is just so good. And what is his ult called? I know what it does.
Transmute?
Transmute, yeah. You can just take a Frostworm and turn it into gold. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
It's so good. He's a really, really good hero. But yeah, if I had to pick one, it would be Blade Master as well. Damn, man. What about the weakest hero for main race and taverns?
Potom,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I only see her like
In cheese
I don't
builds.
think exactly. Yeah, like Huntress all ins. Like you get level 2 with fire arrows and aura, and then they all in you with a bunch of hunts. Um, I put down Fire Lord for Tavern Hero only because I feel like I also only see him in like cheese builds, like with weird tower pushes and stuff. So yeah, Potom and Fire Lord.
I went Crypt Lord. He's not necessarily weak per se. He has use. I love seeing Crypt Lord. I love seeing a Crypt Lord impale a line of priests and riflemen. Oh, it feels so good. I think that I love that about the hero. Beetles are a joke.
Oh, they're terrible.
Spike Carapace is eh. Um Locust Swarm is amazing, but you never see level 6 Crypt Lords, so you don't get to see that. I put Beastmaster, but I almost put Firelord for mine. And the reason I put Beastmaster is he's so almost matchup dependent.
Yeah.
And he's getting countered so well. Like, he's really good versus Orc, but Orcs, Shaman are in, like, the meta now, basically. It used to be the Spirit Walkers that could dispel your beasts.
Now they have Purge.
But now they've got Purge. He almost basically just has one usable ability, which is why I put him instead of the Fire Lord. The Hawk is good. It's good for scouting. It does end up doing good damage versus, like, let's say burrows or grunts or whatever. But the Quillbeast is where it's at. The Fire Lord, Soulburn is actually quite good. It does a silence, and then Incinerate just costs too much mana, but the theory of Incinerate seems good, where it's more damage over time, and then it explodes and does AoE damage. A similar, like an orb effect, basically. But yeah, I don't know. I used to see, and I used to play a Beastmaster a good amount, and Stampede is fucking sick. But
yeah,
I don't play Firelord, but I also don't play Beastmaster anymore, so it was kind of a toss-up for me. I miss playing Beastmaster, but I just end up getting against like 5 Shaman, and they just purge all my shit.
One of the things, and this is going to lead into the next question, which is the hardest matchup for you. And you said in 2020 you struggle with Night Owl versus Orc.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really like the Beastmaster for, and I think we were talking about this on Facebook when you were asking me about what I do versus Orc. I really like, and it's one of those things where, like, if I see an opportunity for it, I'm gonna go for it. But like doing a tier 2 all in with a Demon Hunter, a bunch of archers, and then picking up a Beastmaster with the boar, because like if you go, you remember how like if you play Talons, you need to try and, like, I don't know. I don't play Keeper Hunts.
Yeah.
I refuse to do it. It just. But there was always, like, that time where, like, as soon as they get to tier 2, you need to try and, like, cancel their buildings.
Yeah, so you would send a Quill Boar in, and then you would staff onto it with your Demon Hunter.
Yeah, but, like, just all-inning.
Oh,
and,
gotcha.
Like, just like I said, with, like, a Demon Hunter, some archers, and then a Beastmaster with the Quill Boar. And, like, I've had a lot of success with that. So, like, I get what you're saying with the Beastmaster, but I guess, I don't know, in my eyes, I still have success with the hero.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
No, and it is good because you get him to level 2, and if you, what's nice is whenever I would play Talons, and maybe if I started playing Talons more, I would get Beastmasters more, and I would change my tune on this. I would try to turn most of the Fairy Fire autocast off on my Talons, so they would have mana for Cyclone.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're good microing your Hawk, you also can turn even more of them off, because they're going to dispel the Fairy Fire off the Blade Master if they're good, and you can still get vision of him with the Hawk still alive. So it definitely is a nice a nice spell to have. So yeah, I do see the merits in Beastmaster. If I play him more, maybe I'll change. I expected this answer from you. Hardest matchup.
And anything, any game, anything, mirror matchups. I hate mirror matchups. And it's just, maybe it's a mental thing, but like, I don't know, Night Elf versus Night Elf. There's something about it. There's something about like the race to bears that like stresses me out. Undead versus undead. There's something about like not being able to coil them that stresses me out. I hated playing Protoss versus Protoss in StarCraft 2. I hated mirror matchups in League of Legends mid. I hate mirror matchups in Super Smash Brothers. I hate mirror matchups. There's just can't do it.
It's probably just like your racial identity crisis where you're like, you're in a Night Elf mirror and you're like, oh my god, I could be playing undead Night Elf right now.
Yeah.
Just,
maybe.
Just start scratching at you. Yeah. Oh, no, that makes sense. And you heard me complain about it for years and years, but yeah, for a long time, playing versus undead was fucking impossible for me. I just gave them too much space, and then 4 Froststorms would show up and just melt everything. I did start playing Warden with a Demon Hunter second to try to like Shadow Strike a Fiend and like focus it down with whatever I had, whether I was playing Archers or Hippo Riders or
Moon
Bears.
did that, right?
Yes. And he went Demon second.
Yeah. Happy.
And he went Demon second. And he also went Keeper first, Demon second in one of the games too.
That's right. And
for
Mana Burn.
Exactly, because Mana Burn is just so good against Undead. And Demon is also, he's still the default that I go against Undead. One of the things I noticed, and it's just because I'm fucking bad at this game, is that for years and years and years, my Demon Hunter has been my first hero. And so if I needed him, I would just press F1 to get my Demon Hunter. And when I play Warden first and Demon Hunter second, there have been multiple times that I go to press F1 and then my Mana Burn hotkey, and
you end up blinking.
And I'm a fan of knives.
Oh, I was about to say, because you play Grid.
Yeah, so then what ends up happening is I hadn't blinked to Fan of Knives yet, or if I'm at Shadow Strike, which is what I usually play versus Undead, then nothing happens. And I'm like, oh fuck, what's going on? And I realize, oh, I gotta press F2 to get to my Demon Hunter to then go Mana Burn. And I could easily just tab over in my control group, but Dota has gotten me, playing so much Dota over the past 10 years, has gotten me very into pressing F1 to get my main hero. And it's a hard habit for me to break, because I might be in a different control group, I might be macroing in my base to bring more Dryads or whatever to the fight, and instead of pressing 1 to bring everything up, I just press F1, because the first thing I want to do is Mana Burn, because it's probably off cooldown, and then it's my fucking Warden. So I actually stopped playing Warden Demon Hunter and went back to playing Demon Hunter with either Panda Naga, just because I was sick of fucking that up and losing fights because of it. Because then I like panic and I'm like, oh, why didn't my Mana Burn work? Oh, I'm on my Warden. Terrible. So yeah, that matchup isn't as hard anymore for me as Night Elf vs Orc. I hate playing Keeper Hunts, and so I keep experimenting and dying. And then there have been times I've played Keeper Hunts, and there's like the Moon style where you fast expand with like 3 Huntresses, and then Law Liot started playing a style where you get up to 40, almost 50 food of hunts with your Alchemist Keeper and a bunch of upgrades, and you basically push/pressure the Orc while you expand behind it, similar to like a StarCraft play where you make some sort of advance and then you expand behind it to make sure that it's protected rather than sitting in your base. So I've tried both of those. I don't know the timings, and I think I'm going to start playing Talons to just see if it's helpful.
They've fallen out of style, but they're still really good.
Yeah. What about heroes that you wish you saw more in pro games?
Really just anything that's underused. I know that's kind of like what you were asking for.
Yes.
But I just
This is such a Marty answer. Like let's just read them all. Let's read them all. Favorite matchup to watch? Not a matchup, just Night Elf in general. Favorite matchup to watch that isn't your main race? Not a matchup, Undead in general. And then what else do we have? Oh, I thought there was another good one. Oh yeah, favorite hardest matchup? Mirror anything, not an actual matchup.
we call those Martyisms.
Yes, we certainly do. No, but I do agree with you. Like, seeing a Crypt Lord in a pro game is awesome. I love that shit. Seeing Pit Lord in a pro game.
I just like so I realize I just like don't answer your question, but like thinking to Dota, it was just always exciting like when a really cool unused rare hero would be picked 5th as the last pick.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when something cool pops, so any of those. Yeah, Crypt Lord. I don't know if I've ever seen Crypt Lord in a pro game though. So,
Okay. Yeah. No, I saw it recently in a Back to Warcraft cast, but it might have been like a couple of European players in like the Rising Star Cup. It was on, I believe, Echo Isles, and the Crypt Lord, like the undead army, was chasing after these humans, and they were near the marketplace where there's all those trees on the side, and they were trying to escape, and the Crypt Lord just like impaled through the trees. Like knocked a whole bunch of shit into the air. Mine's Blood Mage. Seeing someone that's good with Blood Mage is like, I think it's like one of the highest skill cap heroes that we have. It is just to see them, because I've seen a lot of cool shit. Like, I think it's TH or Infi that I've seen the most Blood Mage from, and I wish that I could distinguish them from each other more easily, but they're both just so fucking good. Where they would banish, bolt, holy light, and like nuke a lich basically, or they're draining mana and giving it to their paladin or their mountain king or whatever. Then I've seen them versus orc, where they're banishing like a rifleman that the blade master is one hit from killing, and then it gets holy lighted. Like, all this, just so much cool shit that a blood mage can do if you're good enough to do it. I tried playing it in beta. I couldn't fucking do anything properly with that.
Yeah. That hero will always remind me of Angry Korea, man.
Oh man, he was actually in wait, no, I'm thinking of Orc Worker. Never mind. Angry Korea Man, yes, I've matched against him in the ladder too.
He's another player I would just leave against.
He's a dick.
Fuck that.
He can lick your balls.
He can suck my balls.
Same with Kodos Forsaken.
Did you know he's white?
That makes such sense.
Like, I was like, he's just this guy who's been like, he was back in the day, like when Frozen Throne first came out. He's always been a player that would like just Blood Mage first, nothing else, and just build a ton of towers. And it turns out he's a white guy. And I was like let down and blown away at the same time.
All right, so that's most of the Warcraft stuff. What about the best TV show you've seen recently?
Very recently, my wife and we just finished the second season of Castle Rock like a month ago.
Is that still weird for you to say? Sorry to interrupt, but like my wife and I.
Yes, I hesitated. I almost said girlfriend. And then I was like, no, fiance. No, wait, wife.
Damn, man.
Yeah, I just got married in November, so
it's sick.
very. Yeah.
We had a mosh pit.
We did. But yeah, we watched the second season of Castle Rock like a month ago, and we just got like so hooked on it that we watched it all in one night.
I have
Like
not seen
I was
that yet.
like, did you see the first season of it?
Nope. The whole show, I have not seen it yet.
It's good. It's weird, but it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was like the most recent show, and then just overall in general in the past few years would be The Americans. I absolutely loved that show.
Hell yeah.
I started watching it like as soon as it came out. I remember seeing a movie with our friend, and they were like playing ads before the movie started, and just the whole premise of it, like two KGB agents living in Washington D.C. posing as American citizens. I just like was just really like fascinated by that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started watching that from the beginning, and like I watched it all the way to the end, and I loved it. I'm sad it's over, but it
Yeah.
ended on a really good note. And then just recently, like just the other night, I read about on Reddit this Korean show called Crash Landing on You, and it was the premise of it is this woman, this woman from South Korea goes paragliding, and she ends up getting into an accident and lands in North Korea.
Oh shit.
And I was like, wow, that sounds like really interesting. And it was like a K drama, which is like it's like
Yeah.
a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty disappointing.
Oh man.
And that was like very, very recently. I just tried watching it the other weekend or the other night. So that's why I mention it.
I also have The Americans on my list. Marty's the one who told me about it. One of the best finales of anything I've ever seen. He already mentioned the premise for those that don't know what the show's about, but one thing he didn't mention was that their neighbor and friend is an FBI counterintelligence agent. And so it has this very interesting cat and mouse dynamic similar to Breaking Bad with Hank and Walt, where you're like, is he going to figure it out? And it's fucking phenomenal. The way they wrap it all up is perfect. I loved it. And then as far as this past year goes, I absolutely adored Chernobyl. It was very powerful. That incident happened right around the time that we were born. And I'd always been fascinated by it because there wasn't a lot of information about actual details in American textbooks when we were in elementary school. Just that there was a nuclear accident. That's it. There wasn't an internet back then that was very stable to like look at pictures of the fucking elephant's foot and just like learn about it. So I really enjoyed that show. I like how they took like they dramatize like what actually happened, the effects it had on people, basically at what you would call ground zero, the different firefighters, their relationships, how the government was handling it. I just thought it was just so good, and that the pacing was really good, because a show like that after the initial accident could be really boring. It could just be a lot of meetings and whatnot, and it could be poorly written, but I think that they executed it flawlessly. That show was amazing.
And I loved Chernobyl as well. And one of the really good things about it was it came out on HBO around the same time that Game of Thrones happened.
Yeah.
And so like it went from being like, oh, really looking forward to Game of Thrones and realizing that kind of sucked to like, well, it's okay because we have Chernobyl the very next day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Chernobyl was awesome.
What about your favorite 5 games that aren't made by Blizzard? Sorry, by Activision.
So I had to get rid of Call of Duty?
No. Yeah, right. That's not your brother's list.
Okay, so is this like all time or is this recent?
Whatever you want. No, yeah, recent. Like, what have you been playing? The way I should have worded it on here, like, what have you been playing, basically, since our podcast ended? The first time.
Okay. So my number one game would be Dota 2. That game I think is reaching like Warcraft 3 levels to me of like a game that's like really, really important to me and means a lot. BorG and I drove to Seattle 2 years in a row to go to the international, and like that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Dota.
Yeah.
Um, it's been I think the last time we played Dota together was over the summer last year, and I just like it'll happen again this year. Like we always go through stints of like we don't play Dota and then like we play it a lot. It's just one of those games that like I said, it's like it's becoming like the Warcraft 3 of my adult life.
Yeah. Really, that's a good point.
So Dota 2 would be number one. So I don't play like Xbox or PlayStation. I play computer games, and then I really enjoy Nintendo franchises. So everything else after Dota are Nintendo franchises. Number two would be Splatoon. I really, really, really love that game, and I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
And so that makes it like even better. But Splatoon is basically it's like a team shooter game, and it's like if you look at it, it looks like a children's game because it's like very bright colors and but it's like it has like a really high skill ceiling. It's really fast paced. It's very competitive, and although recently I've been feeling like burnt out by it, like I need to take a break from it. But I really, really, really like Splatoon 2 for the Switch. My number three game is Super Smash Brothers, and the reason why I put Super Smash Brothers on here is because I'm a high school teacher, and I recently started a Super Smash Brothers club at my school. So once a week on Thursdays, I in my classroom, I hook up my Switch to the smart board, and I have some monitors, and the kids bring their Switches, and we play Super Smash Brothers for a couple hours.
That's awesome.
So I've had a lot of fun getting like involved doing that. So I put that on there. And then for like single player games, I recently played through the Bayonetta series, and it's like, I don't know, just like the Bayonetta as a character was really like cool and fun. And just like the mechanics of the game and like the gameplay of it was really fun. And then I also put Astral Chain just because Astral Chain is made by the same company that makes Bayonetta, and like the play style of it was very similar. So I really enjoyed those games. And then Breath of the Wild, Zelda. The first time when I first got my Switch, I got Breath of the Wild with it, and I hated it.
I remember that. My weapons keep breaking, bro.
It was so frustrating. I was like, this is stupid. Like there's no real dungeons. But I like came back around, and I'm the kind of person like when I play a game, I want to get it over with as fast as possible and move on to the next game. And I know that doesn't sound like the right way of going about it, but it's not like, oh, I want to get this over with because I'm not enjoying it, but it's just like I want to get to the end of it. Like I want to beat the game, and not like speed running as fast as I can, but just like
not doing side quests and whatnot.
Exactly, side quests and all that kind of stuff. But like there were just so many nights where like I would just like climb to the top of a mountain in Breath of the Wild and like, okay, what do I want to go find?
Yeah, right.
And then I want to go there, and then like I jump off the mountain and glide towards it, and so like I don't know, it was really a really, really fun game, and I'm really excited that a second one is coming out, and I'm curious to see what they end up doing with that. So
yeah, I did enjoy that. I found a way to play it on my computer, and it was just a little too easy is like the only thing I had an issue with. Is once you have enough upgrades, I don't know, just the combat was pretty easy, but it was very fun. It was beautiful. I loved all the shrines. That was so much fun.
Yeah,
it was an awesome game. And I need to change mine. For whatever reason, I had in my head I was doing like single player stuff. I originally had Mass Effect, the whole trilogy on here, but I'm going to replace that with Dota, because you're absolutely right. From our mid to late 20s and early 30s, Dota was what, you know, brought us together, similar to Warcraft 3, and it's helped shape us. Those trips were fucking phenomenal. It just, I really enjoy watching professional Dota. I like playing it. It can be frustrating, but also so can Warcraft 3, and so could StarCraft 2. It's just, competitive games can be that way. After that, though, is The Last of Us. No game has ever pulled my heartstrings or made me as emotional or emotionally attached to a character or any characters ever as The Last of Us did. The storytelling, the immersion of it, the cinematics, and the acting quality is so fucking high. I am very excited for the sequel. I don't know the last time I took off work for a game. I don't even think I did for WoW Classic launch. I'm gonna take off the first day of The Last of Us 2 release because I'm so hyped for it. The Resident Evil 2 remake I've played through like 6 times, and I'm probably gonna play through another 2 times before the Resident Evil 3 remake comes out in April, which I'm also super duper excited for. Also on my list is the whole like Dark Souls Bloodborne series, if you could combine it all together as a series. I also have Sekiro, and that was really fun, but it's just below the Dark Souls and Bloodborne games. I've sank so much time into all of those the past 5 years. It's kind of, if I wasn't playing Dota or Warcraft 3, like that's what I was playing. And then Half-Life 2, as anyone that might be watching can see, the 2 people that are one of them is Marty, the other is our friend.
It's us.
But yeah, Marty recently started playing Dark Souls 2, so
yeah, I was gonna say I'm currently making my way through Dark Souls 1. I've discovered it's not a game I can like. I need to like take breaks from it.
Yeah.
Like, so I beat those 2 fuckers.
Yeah.
And like now I have to get all the way back to Firelink Shrine, and it's like I need a break.
You should be able to warp now that you killed them.
But I read you can't fucking use it. You have to go activate the thing.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
So
enjoy that run. Wait, no, because you get flown there from Sen's Fortress. There is no way back besides warping. You should be able to warp.
I'll look into it.
Try it out.
I'll look into it.
What about movies recently?
So I feel bad. Like, it wasn't like I copied your answers.
No, I know, it's phenomenal.
But yeah, Parasite.
It's so good.
Elise and I watched Parasite 2 weeks ago, and I was just like blown away by it.
Oh yeah.
Like, the first thing, I got really excited when I saw the CJ Entertainment logo.
Uh-huh.
And I tried, and she's like, "How do you know what CJ like? What is that?" And I was like trying to explain to her like CJ Entis and StarCraft and everything. But yeah, Parasite was awesome.
Fuck yeah.
I'm hoping to see. I'm like half ironically, half unironically excited for the Sonic movie that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminded me like how awesome of a movie Detective Pikachu was. It was just really cool. Did you ever see Detective Pikachu?
I did not.
It like plot wise, it was like kind of whatever, but just seeing like a world with Pokemon and like kind of like doing like a good job with it. It was a really like fun. Like I had like a big smile on my face the entire time during Detective Pikachu.
That's good.
So, but yeah, Parasite was a phenomenal movie.
Oh my god. Yeah, I finally got my roommate to see it. I put it on a jump drive for her like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I saw it last year, and I've seen it 2 more times since then.
Did you see it in the theater, or did you like download it?
Yeah, I downloaded it. I would love to, if there was a theater near me playing it. I just like, I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
After I watched it, the following days, I just it was, and no one I knew had seen it yet. It was like in November, I think, and I just wanted to talk to someone about it. I didn't want to spoil anything. I just couldn't. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It is the most. It was. People were asking me, "Well, what's so good about it?" I was like, "It's the most unique thing I've seen in fiction in so long." In like the era that we're in of like rehashes or sequels to like established IPs, to see a movie that is that unique was just absolutely mind-blowing, and it gave me so much hope for the future of movies, because like we've got all these big franchises and people are remaking old movies, and then this comes out and it was just the coolest thing I've seen. And the Best Picture Oscar is kind of a joke most years, but this absolutely deserves it. If you can find a way to see it and you haven't, please go see Parasite. It was so good.
Yeah. That was exactly how I felt about Neon Genesis Evangelion when I finished it. Like, I was something like, it just like that entire week after I saw it, like I finished it, I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah. I thought you were going to put that for your shows.
If I would have like been thinking about it, or like anime, I don't really like anime. I didn't want to like present myself as a weeb because I'm not. But and I guess like seeing Neon Genesis Evangelion for the first time in 2019, I'm like way behind.
Yeah.
But it got added to Netflix last summer, and I finally got around to watching it, and I told my wife about it, about like the last scene of them at the beach where he starts choking her, and like I was like I couldn't stop thinking about it. I had to talk to someone about it. That's why I made you watch it.
Yeah, oh my god, I'm glad you did. I've like had on my external hard drive like a notepad document of like shows or anime that I plan on watching, and it's been on that list since I like was dating Allison, like during the StarCraft late night podcast time. Like 10 years. Yeah. 10 years that's been on like a list of things to watch, and I just never got around to it. Yeah, no, that was amazing. It was so good. Yeah. What about books? I recently got back into reading. The only reason I'm putting this on is because I finally got back into reading. I wasn't reading books for years. It just I couldn't. I would fall asleep as soon as I started. But I finally got back into it, and I was like, well, maybe Marty's been reading something.
I haven't been. Over the summer, back in high school, our friend KJ got me into the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, and I got through like the first part of the fourth book, and I stopped.
That book is so bad. Well, long. It is kind of bad, but
and I don't remember what prompted me to like pick it up again, but I ended up buying like a box set of the entire series on Amazon last summer, and I fucking could not put down the first 3 books. Got to the 4th book again, same exact thing happened. And it is currently sitting on my nightstand, and like every now and then I'll look at it and think like, just pick it up and just get through it.
Oh, you're
because
still
you
there?
Told me I'm still there.
I thought you had finished the series by now. You were like pacing it out so fast.
Exactly. I was crushing it, man. Like I fucking like it was like a week I got through like 2 of the books. I can't do it. I can't. The whole thing just comes to a grinding halt. And like they're fucking in like some alternate version of Kansas. The world is ending, and there's like, let's sit around this fire and I'll tell you a story. And then all of a sudden you're in some fucking other world, and he's talking about this chick. And I read like they just did this thing where like they some old witch or like some really old lady like checked her to see if she was still a virgin.
Yep.
And I finished that chapter, and I put the book down, and I have not picked it back up since then. And it still is on my nightstand, and every now and then I'll look at it and think, you know what? Let's just pick it up and crush through it, because you told me that it gets better afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
And really want to finish it because they're supposed to do an Amazon series on it, and it's like based on that book, and I can't.
Because it is.
I will. I
Yeah.
will at some point in time. I will do it, but just now I can't.
A big portion of that book turns into almost like a prequel because he's like telling stories around a campfire, and then that witch ends up like looking at stuff in like a glass ball, and it just takes so long. It takes so long to get through that to continue their current story. Maybe you can find something online that says like, if you want to skip all of this stuff, go to page 375 and continues with the modern or current story. Maybe that would help you out. But it's so worth it. Oh my goodness, it's so worth it. What's coming up? Spring break? Yeah, spring break isn't too far away. Maybe that's something you can do during spring break. For me, I had always, with like the inspirations that it came for it, or from it for Dark Souls, I had always been interested in Berserk, but I had never watched or read it. And the 3 movies were put on Netflix, and they're not that great. Like the animation and the weird attempts at 3D animation are very. The 3D it's like takes you out of the immersion sometimes, but they are not bad. I think that they're quite good, but it was the story and the characters that like absolutely hooked me. And when I was done watching it, I wanted, because it's only one arc of the entire manga story, and I wanted to see what else happened. And you can read the whole thing in English online. It's like a website called readberserk.com, I think. And I just started plugging away. And I'm like, it's like 370 chapters of it, and I'm on like 275. And it's
Damn.
so cool. It's like the best anti-hero I've ever fucking seen. It's so visceral and good, and it's quite mature. There's like lots of sex and like really gruesome violence in it. It's just the like character of like the character progression, like the arc of the character is, I don't know how to that's like one of the things. There's a lot of like recommend me anime threads and whatnot, and some people will put Berserk, and almost all the comments are like, do yourself a favor, don't watch the show, don't watch the movies, just read the manga. And I had never read a manga before, so I was like, I don't think I'm gonna want to do this, but it's like just PDFs online, so I kept doing that. I recommend watching the movies that are on Netflix. I think that they give you a good baseline, especially like the last 30 minutes of the third movie. I just like, my mouth was open the whole time. Like, what the fuck is happening right now? I couldn't. It was crazy. And that's what got me hooked. So I feel like it's easier to get people in by having them watch the movies, and then if they want to see more of the story, to read the manga. And the anime movie Akira, I saw in high school, and I didn't fucking get it at all. It was beautiful, it was action-packed, I thought it was interesting, but I didn't fucking understand any of it. And I watched it again in my 20s, and I watched it again in my 30s, and I was still like, what the fuck is going on here? And it turns out that movie was drawn and directed by the guy who wrote the manga, but the movie was made when the manga wasn't even finished. Like, some studio had read the beginning of the story, like the first 2 volumes of manga, and greenlit this movie, and he did it in 3 years, but he wasn't done with the story of the manga. So the stories of the movie and the manga go in separate directions. They have different conclusions, sort of. Some characters that are big characters in the manga have like 3 seconds of screen time in the movie. It's so weird. So I ended up buying all 6 volumes. off Amazon.
Oh, damn.
Because I always thought that movie was so interesting. They're only like $14 or $15 a piece on Amazon, and the movie was so interesting, and the fact that it doesn't answer all the questions. Like, you don't even see the character Akira, who it's about, in the movie. He's been, why can't I think of the word? When you remove organs, what? He's had an autopsy, and they. Oh, I sound stupid right now.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All of his organs have been exhumed and put into these glass jars. He's been dissected. He's been dissected.
Oh.
It's about like telekinetic powers, and he like causes World War III by having a violent outburst of energy that looks like a nuclear bomb. And they find him, and the scientists dissect him and put his organs into different like glass vials or glass jars in the movie. And you only see him as a kid because he stays a child in like a hallucination. But he's an actual character in the manga. Like he doesn't talk very often, but he's actually like a physical being in the manga. It's so like they don't answer a lot of shit. So I was like, whatever. I'm just gonna buy them. They're $15 each. I always loved this concept. I want to see what the full story is. So I know I talked about this for a really long time just now, but it was really good. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
I used to like read to fall asleep, and I would catch myself at like 4:30 in the morning still reading because it was so good. And I just recently started Dune to get ready for the movie that's going to come out this year. Because Denis Villeneuve, or however you pronounce his last name, he is my favorite director right now. All the stuff he's put out in the last like 6 or 7 years has been incredible. Every take he puts on sci-fi, and then Prisoners was crazy. All of his movies are absolutely incredible, and I'm very excited.
Oh, he did Blade Runner?
Yes, the Blade
Runner
one. Yeah. Oh my God. So Dune is a sci-fi movie or sci-fi book. So to see like what he did with all the visuals and whatnot with the Blade Runner movie,
yeah,
it's gonna be cool to see what he does with Dune. And I had always wanted to read this book, and it just like it was just really hard to read. There's a lot of like fake, like not fake, but like made up words, like almost like a made up language. Just words that don't mean anything in English, but they mean something in the book. There's like a vocabulary that you have to learn, and there's a vocabulary like index in the back of the book to give you the definitions to these words. So when I tried reading it as a kid, it was just too intimidating. I couldn't understand it, so I just stopped. And seeing that he was the one directing the new movie got me to pick it back up again. And just like Akira, I'm fucking hooked on that.
That's awesome.
Oh, what have you been listening to, Marty?
Why'd you say it like that?
Have you been a sad boy?
Why?
Because everything I've heard about Spanish love songs is that it's like really sad.
Oh, okay. I thought like it was I thought it was a reference to something. So, like BorG just said, there's this band called Spanish Love Songs. They're a punk band, and they just released a new album last week. So like I've been listening to them a lot. My sister's husband got me into them a couple years ago, and they're not like an emo band. Like I said, they're like a punk band, but like their first album was about like the guy's divorce. The second album was about, I would say a lot of it was about like mental health and like self-doubt and anxiety and not feeling like you fit into the world. And like I know some of that kind of stuff sounds like, just saying it like that, it sounds corny, but like he's really good with words. And then like the most recent album that came out, a lot of it is about like the way the world is right now in society and like living paycheck to paycheck and like trouble, like financial trouble. I don't know. You'd have to like listen to it or read the lyrics to understand what I'm talking about. So yeah, like it's like sad, but it's not like I'm listening to them because I'm sad.
Okay.
They've just like ever since Austin showed me them, like they've probably been like one of my favorite bands. So yeah, they just had a new album come out, and then like I was listening to them a bunch, like leading up to the album release, and then we're seeing them in March. I have tickets. They're playing with the Wonder Years and some other band called Free Throw. So it should be a really fun show. And then and it's really the second band I've been listening to a lot lately is really fitting with Reforged just launching.
Yeah.
Because I will always associate Newfound Glory. Newfound Glory is my favorite band of all time. Like I've been listening to Newfound Glory since I was like 13 or 14, and I will always associate like Newfound Glory's early music with Reign of Chaos and Frozen Throne. Like I can just picture myself being 14 years old, sitting in my room at my parents' house, playing Reign of Chaos, listening to like their Sticks and Stones album.
Yeah.
Like I will just always associate those things together, Warcraft 3 and Newfound Glory. And it's not like I'm listening to Newfound Glory now because of Reforged. Newfound Glory has a new album coming out in May, and they just announced it last week. But the thing that's really shitty is a week ago from today, last Sunday, before they even announced it, the entire thing leaked onto the internet. Yeah, so like all they've released so far is the first single off of it, but like I have the entire album, so I've been listening to that.
Okay.
And like I said, I already like pre-ordered it. Like they're still gonna get my money, but it just sucks that happened to them.
Yeah.
But it really feels fitting that like there's a Newfound Glory record to go with the re-release of Warcraft 3. There's like something about it that just feels right.
Yeah. No, I definitely know what you mean. I definitely have. And we talk about this a lot when we drive to Seattle, but like there's certainly music that links to games and vice versa.
Definitely.
As sort of a joke, but not, I put the compilation I made of our Best of the StarCraft Late Night podcast to prepare for bringing the show back, which I did. It's like 4.5 hours long, but I listened to the whole thing on my drive, like to and from work over the last week or so. Just to get ready, just to like listen to how our flow used to be, and it seems like nothing's changed. We're able to talk. It's not going on 3 hours. We're able to talk about literally anything for any amount of time. But
are we at the 3-hour mark?
We passed it already. We're at 3:07.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're almost done though. If anyone is still listening at this point, I know the stream is dead, but like the MP3 will still be out there. But as far as actual music, lots of nothing's changed in the past year. I've been just listening to a lot of Norma Jean lately, and
I was gonna say, what metalcore are you into lately?
Actually, the second band I was gonna name was La Dispute.
Okay.
I made an attempt to do a best of the decade album list, and it was really difficult. But 2 of the top 3 I knew were gonna be Fake History by Let Live and Wildlife by La Dispute. And
oh man,
as I was like making that list, I started listening to all those albums again to be like, okay, is this rose tinted glasses, or is this like one of the things I listen to most / think is the best of the decade? And I never made the list because it was just difficult. So but listening to the album over and over again in December, it's just kind of carried over. I just listen to it all the time now. I loved it then when you showed me it, and I love it now.
I will always, so just like with Warcraft 3 and Newfound Glory, I will always associate Let Live's Fake History with when we first started playing League of Legends.
Yeah. H. Ledger.
Yeah.
Oh, that album is so fucking good. that was what I was running with as number 1 for almost the entire time.
I miss that band.
Yeah.
And I with Wildlife by Lie Dispute, I agree that I feel like they definitely. I liked the album that came after that, Rooms in the House or whatever it was, but Wildlife to me is probably their best record. So that's really cool.
The one before it, the River one, I also really, really like. But yeah, Wildlife has stuck with me longer than that one. So good. All right. The question of the hour. What's your MMR, dog?
For which race? I play 3 races right now.
All of them.
So.
Damn it.
Yes. So are you saying that my elf is higher than you? Is that why?
Yes, because I used to be a better elf player than you.
Maybe. I mean, like, you probably have to play more. You'll get higher than me.
I do need to play more because I haven't played much, and I played way too much of the campaign the first week. I actually played it. I didn't use cheat codes.
Are you sure about that?
Okay, that didn't happen.
Are you sure about that, BorG?
Dude, I was 3 seconds away from finishing the Archimon mission.
That's not what you told me.
3 minutes? 3 seconds?
You told me you were like 20 minutes away.
No.
You couldn't.
That's a lie. It was under a minute.
You told me it was like 20 seconds, not 3 seconds.
It was under a minute.
Okay. Anyways, my MMR. So Night Elf is definitely the race I'm the best with. And the last time I checked, my MMR was around 2250. I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was like not above 2.3, but it was somewhere. It was a 2.2 number. Undead is probably like around 2000. I know, like, the first time I checked it, it was at like 2100, but I've lost a couple games since I've checked it. The thing I don't like about checking it every time is your opponent can see when you check it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just, I don't know. It's just like,
if only you had a profile you could look at.
Exactly. Thank you. And then Human, which is the race I've been playing the most the past week. I have absolutely no experience playing as Human up until Reforged. Like, they were a race I never touched when I was younger, and even like playing that, even getting back into the game and playing 1v1, I never played Human. But what really like turned me on to them was when the beta first came out and all that was available was Orc and Human. I just played Human more, and I really liked their macro style, so I've been playing them a lot. So I have no experience prior to like this week, and right now I'm around 1900.
If you start playing tanks, I'm gonna have to cancel the podcast.
I have yet to build a workshop.
Oh, well, I mean, mortars are good, but people that just mass tanks, I don't like that.
If we ever play a game and I play Human, I will mass tanks on you.
All right, I'll win.
Just like you. I'll never forget when you did some like roach rush to me.
or on Lost Temple when I went like 11 drone into Mutas.
I don't remember that, but I remember roaches on a lava map.
Oh, okay. There was a Lost Temple game where I just knew you would be like expanding a lot and teching a lot, and I like only had, you even like watched the replay on stream or something, or at my apartment, and you're like, you only have like 11 or 12 or 14 drones. You're teching straight into a spire, and then I sent like 9 mutalisks to your base, and you were like,
"Oh my god!"
You said some kind of snide remark, and then just left.
Oh, I hate it. I remember in like the roach game I'm thinking about. I remember that was when we were like practicing with our team. And I remember Castles messaged me afterwards, and he's like, "You can't do that. You can't behave like that. We're trying to practice and get better. You need to know how to deal with a roach push like that."
Yeah.
And I was like,
"That's
yeah,
why I did
it.
Yeah, what's BorG?
So-
Yeah. I had good intentions behind my action for that.
Oh no, you didn't. You just wanted to cheese me so you could get you. I gave you the reaction you wanted. Do you remember that? Um, there was someone that listened to StarCraft Late Night, and there was a post of me on Reddit that some guy posted of.
Oh, you deserve to win this game.
Yeah, it was like, GG, you played great. You deserve to win. And like the guy posted it on Reddit thinking I was being sincere. The guy fucking DT rushed me, and my observer was on the other side of the map coming to his base. So it was very sarcastic. I
Look at this good-mannered player, Custom. You deserve to win that.
yeah, you deserve this victory. And even people in the comments were like, dude, I'm pretty sure he was being sarcastic.
Oh, man. So, yes, like what stated before, Marty's Elf MMR is higher than mine. I'm around 2150, but I'm off Tuesday, so I'll be able to play a lot of games then. And that's the end of the questions. I didn't think it would take that long, so if anyone is still listening and thought that was too long, I apologize. We normally, in the past, would have questions from listeners, and at the end of the like StarCraft or Warcraft portion of the show, we would just run through them, and we would let everyone know like this is when we're doing email. So if anyone was done with, the esports news or whatever, and they didn't want to listen to questions, they would tune out. But that's what we normally would do right there, is read all of the emails and answer the questions that they had in them. So the goal, also, sorry about all the coughing. I don't know how loud it was in my microphone, but I'm just finishing getting sick, or being sick, and talking makes me cough more. So unfortunately, that was happening. The goal is to do this every other week, but if like tournaments and news aren't frequent enough, we'll have to probably dial it back. Even though him and I could talk about whatever for hours and put out an episode, it may not be enough Warcraft relevant information to warrant an entire episode. The other like opportunity in scheduling is just that like in the past he was like a full-time student and a full-time employee, and I was a full-time employee, and getting our schedules to match was really hard. But with him being a teacher, he's always off Saturday, Sunday, and my work closes early Saturday, Sunday, so as long as his wife doesn't need him, it'll be easier for us to record than it was last time. Lastly, please send feedback. Let us know what worked and what didn't, what we could do better, what you'd like to hear. We aren't super high-level players, as you just heard, so talking balance and theory may not really be valid from coming from us, but if enough people want to hear stuff like that, then we'll do it. For questions or feedback, email martyandborg@gmail.com. We read every question and email on the air the next episode. Like I said at the start, that has always been a very important part of the show to us. People are going to take the time to send us something, so we're going to answer. We're not just going to gloss over stuff. It's important to engage with people like that. And
yeah, we read every single question,
even if it was like mean, even if it was people like just not even giving constructive criticism, but just like calling us dicks. Like
I just remember there was a point in time where we used to go through our iTunes reviews.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, like we even like discovered that there was like a South Africa iTunes store, and like it was all different reviews there, and like Australia was different and Europe was different. Yeah, because that was like a thing people did back then. I don't even know how many people listen to stuff on iTunes anymore, because like Spotify is such a big thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be nice to not have to pay for a website to host this time around. It wasn't expensive. It was just...
I don't think that's necessary.
Spotify will work out well. So will YouTube.
Yeah.
And then something we also did with our old show was like replay analyses, whatever, of our own games from like tournaments that we played in, but also of listeners' games. People would send us stuff in like, oh, I'm having trouble versus this race or versus this build, and then we would make a YouTube video analyzing it, letting them know what they could have done better in order to win that game. So I just did one with a game versus Hawk and Paladin, Polish Night Elf player, but I was super sick, so my voice sounds like total ass. Sounds like the pits. So I'm gonna re-record that and put it on our YouTube channel, and for reference, that channel's name is just Marty and BorG. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Marty?
No, not really. You know what I was thinking of? I don't think we ever like introduced who we were in sense of like, I'm Marty and you're BorG.
Oh, that's true. We just kind of said who we are.
Yeah.
I could always put a font over our names in the video at the very start.
Yeah. But
He's
no,
Marty.
otherwise it's it was fun doing this again.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in class. I was like in teaching a class when I saw the announcement that they were doing the ESL Pro Tour stuff for Warcraft 3, and I don't know, I just got this feeling of like, we need to bring the show back.
Mm-hmm.
And like we've talked about it before, like a couple of years ago we kind of floated the idea it would be fun to do that again, and then with In Control passing away, it kind of brought back a lot of memories of StarCraft Late Night, and then that's when you finished doing the best of, and then just like seeing that, like the announcement for the ESL Pro Tour, that was like when I messaged you on Facebook. I was like, we should bring the show back. And like I didn't know how it would go, it just, I don't know, just kind of like being here and talking about all this stuff again and recording it. It just felt right, and it was a lot of fun, and hopefully people have enjoyed it, and yeah, it was fun.
It was, yes. Thank you all for listening. Those who are still there. Yeah, I'm BorG and he's Marty. Well, actually, according to my video, he's Marty. I'll probably either redo an intro at the start in post. That way it's much more clear at the beginning for people. And then I'll cut this part. So thank you for listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks, hopefully.